Coverage begins at 7. We are your home for Smashville. WPRT FM Pegram, WBUC HD2 Laverne, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Live at the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Caroline Fenton is here today. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
So the trade deadline, the Titans have 1 hour. I guess technically they have 59 minutes and 10 seconds in order to make a trade if they are going to make a trade ahead of today's trade deadline. Now, let me say this, because I am not doing this. You know, earlier this morning, I heard it on Robbie and Rex Road. I heard all they need a lineman. I know. It's easy to say they need a wide receiver. The question is, what wide receiver do you want the Titans to get? And then what are you willing to give up if you are the Titans? Because, for instance, you know, there's a wide receiver out there, Jerry Jeudy, and all of a sudden, Denver wants a first-round pick for Jerry Jeudy.
No.
Thank you. Not interested in that. So, with that, let's go around the room. 1, do you think the Titans will make a move today? I don't even think we need to go around the room for that.
They're not going to.
Of course they're not.
No.
Okay. Do you think they should? Do you think they should make a move? Who wants to go first today?
I'll go first.
Go.
I do think that they should. Because while I said last week, I don't think that this team is another wide receiver away from competing for a Super Bowl, I also have to think about that and say, with the way that Tannehill has been playing this year and the way the defense looks this year, what if A.J. Brown was on this team? Or what if this team had just a little bit more offensive depth and more offensive weapons to be more creative offensively? Could they compete for a Super Bowl? I mean, maybe. I would love to see the Titans go out and get a splashy wide receiver. I just don't think they're going to do it. And I don't really know how much I would be willing to give up. Like a DJ Moore, for example, I'd be willing to entertain the thought of like a first-round pick for DJ Moore. But like a first-round pick for Jerry Jeudy, absolutely not.
So
first-round pick for Cortland Sutton, absolutely not. I think that they should, yes. I don't think that they will.
Okay. Ian, do you think the Titans should make a trade today?
Maybe a small one for depth.
So I'm not interested in small move for depth. You can get somebody off somebody's practice squad for depth. We've learned, if last year taught us anything, it's the Titans can go find depth. You know, like the Titans go pull Joe Schobert out of nowhere, stick him on the practice squad, put him in the Colts game, and he rakes the ball from Jonathan Taylor. Those guys, they're great at getting those guys. If they could draft in the first round as good as they are at finding guys off the scrap heap like Deontay Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard, like those guys, if they could do that as well as they find these nobodies from nowhere and then have them come in here and be players, I would be so. I mean, we think that John Robinson's the greatest general manager of all time. I guess that leads it to me. And here's my thing. Here are the trades that have already happened today. And again, we're going to be keeping up with it. Ian's saying that apparently Calvin Ridley is being traded to the Jags.
Oh.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. He can't play. But the Jags are making a move to put him on for next year's team. And the Falcons aren't going to want to have to pay him money. And Ridley's kind of, he's out there.
Why is he out there? Because he gambled.
Well, he did that. And then, he took the whole half of the season the previous year off, citing mental health reasons.
That's right.
And then that's when he started gambling or got caught gambling. So
he just needed something to pass the time.
He's just not very reliable as far as that's concerned. Not that I'm judging mental health or anything like that. But the 49ers have traded their running back Jeff Wilson to the Dolphins for a 5th-round pick. That makes sense since they have Christian McCaffrey. There's no need to have Jeff Wilson. I don't even know who the running back for the Dolphins is, so that probably makes sense too. The Dolphins traded a 1st-round pick for Bradley Chubb of the Broncos. And then the big one today was, other than the Bradley Chubb one, the big one is Chase Claypool, 2nd-round pick in 2020 with the Steelers, gets sent to the Bears for a second-round pick. And then TJ Hawkinson, who was the 8th overall pick in the 2019 draft here in Nashville, he went from the Lions to the Vikings. Now, I actually did the math on this. This is what's crazy, doing the Jimmy Johnson trade analysis chart. So it's TJ Hawkinson and a 4th next year and a conditional 4th in exchange for a 2nd this year. And when I say this year, I mean 23, the next draft.
Yeah.
And a 24 third. So I added that up off the Jimmy Johnson trade chart. And it's basically Hawkinson for like the 57th pick in the draft. So that is, the back end of the second round.
Right.
Minnesota basically acquired a starting tight end who is the leading receiver on the Detroit Lions, which tells me that it wasn't really like, a big trade or anything. The Lions just wanted to get rid of TJ Hawkinson so they wouldn't have to pay him in the future because they probably didn't think he was worth number 1 tight end money. So you trade him to Minnesota, you get the second-round pick back. People are like, oh, yeah, 2nd and a 3rd. Woo, great job. But in reality, you just traded the 8th overall pick from a couple years ago and your leading receiver for a back end of the second round. The value of the trade just is not very high.
Right.
Which made me think, pick up the phone and call the Lions about Amon-Ra St. Brown and see what they'd be willing to do there. Because, again,
it's not like they're trying to get rid of him and ditch him so they don't have to pay him.
Do we know that?
Well, I mean, he was just drafted last year.
Right. So Hawkinson was drafted in the first round, 2 years ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Right.
Which means that they have Hawkinson for next year at $9 million. And Hawkinson is their leading receiver. So, because I think St. Brown got hurt. Mm-hmm. So Hawkinson's their leading receiver. And the reason that they're not keeping him is simply because they don't want to give him a contract. They don't think he's worth a second contract. Kind of like Corey Davis here. Corey Davis was fine here, but they were never going to sign Corey Davis to a second contract. So instead of lose Corey Davis for a compensatory pick down the road, they give up the extra year on Hawkinson, and they get to jump up around from the bottom of the 3rd to the bottom of the 2nd. Follow?
Yeah. No, I hear you.
So what they did, the difference is that Hawkinson was a first rounder, St. Brown was a second rounder, so St. Brown's only on a 4-year deal, whereas Hawkinson's on a 5-year deal, so it's really not that, there's 1 extra year of control. So yes, they drafted him last year, and they've got him for 2 more years, but they had Hawkinson for an extra year too, and they already moved on that. So if they don't think they're going to compete next year, which would be why they'd get rid of their tight end, do they really think they're going to compete while they still have St. Brown on their team? It's at least worth a phone call. And again, if they're going to do it for, let's make it look like a good trade, but it's really not that great of a trade, that's where you start adding things together, and it's like your 3rd next year and whatever to make it look like it's a good trade when really it's TJ Hawkinson for the 58th or 57th pick in the draft. And that's probably the discussions the Titans are having. Not that they're having the specific Amon-Ra St. Brown discussion, but that's probably the discussion that they're having with teams right now is, okay, we'll give you a 4th round pick in next year's draft because they don't have their 4th rounder in this year's draft because they gave it to the Falcons for Julio Jones. So we'll give you our 4th rounder in 24, and we'll give you a 5th rounder this year, and the total of that is, 120 on the Jimmy Johnson trade chart, and we'll take on this guy, but then you have to convert his current salary to a signing bonus, and then you take on that, and then we'll pay the $6 million. And so it gets really convoluted as far as how they're going to do these things. I just don't think the Titans are going to do it, and I think the Titans owe it to themselves to do it. I really do. To make a trade for an impact guy. When I say they owe it to themselves, what I think I really mean, and we'll never know the results of this, they owe it to themselves to try at wide receiver. Now, everybody talks about offensive line, and everybody's like, offensive line, left tackle, they got to get a new left tackle, There's nobody out there that the Titans could acquire at left tackle right now that is on the market that they could bring in and could be like a franchise left tackle. There's not a single person out there.
Because if there was, I'd be all for it.
Right. The best I think you might be able to go with is Charles Leno, who is the left tackle of Washington. But, guys, they've won 3 games in a row. The Commanders are not completely out of it. And Charles Lynn's a pretty good player. But I think the thing for me is the Titans have won every game that Dennis Daly has started. I know, it's crazy to think about because everybody, all they do is bitch about Dennis Daly.
In spite of Dennis Daly.
I really don't think Dennis Daly's that bad. I mean, like, I think Dennis Daly's bad. I don't think he's that bad. Like, I really don't. I really don't think that Dennis Daly is any worse than when David Questenberry played left tackle and they had the number 2 offense in the league.
Well, if you have the opportunity to upgrade, you would.
Yeah, I mean, they won't go into next season with Dennis Daly as their starting left tackle. But at the same time, I really just don't think like it's, offensive line over wide receiver. I really just don't think that's that big of a deal. What I do think of a big deal is that in their wins, they're averaging 132 passing yards a game. That will not work Sunday night. Like, I want everybody out there to know 132 passing yards will not work when you play the Chiefs, when you play the Bills, when you play the good teams in the AFC. And if last night's Monday Night Football game taught us anything, it is that outside of the Bills and the Chiefs and you, I don't think there's anybody who is guaranteed for anything in the AFC. I mean, I thought the Bengals were right up there with the Titans, and I thought the Bengals, might still have another punch left in them. And then I watched that game last night, not to say the Bengals season is over, but my God, Jamar Chase is like the Peyton Manning of that team. The second he goes down, they go back to being the crap Bengals.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, it's terrible. And so, I mean, I think the Titans owe it to themselves. And I do recognize that there is a little talking out of both sides of the mouth coming from me. Because I decided after last year in the playoffs that they could not win the Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback. I believe that. I still believe it. I believed it then, and I will probably go to my grave whenever that day comes thinking that the Titans could never win a Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback, unless Ryan Tannehill does win a Super Bowl before I pass, at which point I will be able to die a happy man knowing that the Titans at some point in my life won a Super Bowl. But I say this, even so, even if I know that every playoff game that they play, whether it's the Dolphins or the Chargers or the Ravens or on the road at Kansas City or on the road at Buffalo, that they will be underdogs, I just don't know how many more chances they're going to get. How many more opportunities in a 5-year window does a team get where the rest of the conference what?
How many opportunities do you get with this team in a Super Bowl window and being able to capitalize off of a conference that really might not be that great?
We did, and they had the opportunity.
And we thought that opportunity was lost last year.
We did when the AFC went out and made all those
big quarterback moves, and we thought, okay, is it like what's going to be the future of Ryan Tannehill? And now we've seen all those quarterback moves. Didn't really seem all that smart.
Is it not wild that, and I talked about this a little bit last week, but as much movement as there was, like whether it was the Broncos loading up for Russell Wilson.
Or Devontae Adams to the Raiders, Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins.
Chiefs get rid of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
That with all of this movement that was around in the AFC and all this talk about who was loading up and who wasn't and everything else. That
it
at the
still
end,
all kind of feels the same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
It's Buffalo, Kansas City, and Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And even last year, like I know the Bengals got to the Super Bowl. The Bengals were very clearly for. They were, in my opinion, they were very clearly for last year. That for the last 4 years, in some, since 2019, it has been in the conference, the Titans, the Chiefs, and the Bills, in whatever order you want to put it. The Chiefs have won 2 AFCs in that mix. Buffalo probably has been the most consistent team over that time period, and Tennessee happened to be the number 1 seed and got to an AFC championship game and has won the division more than all those teams. So I guess not more than Kansas City, but it's those 3 teams. And so because of that, I don't feel like the Titans, are 1 trade away from being a Super Bowl contender. But then again, I think about how if they, had A.J. Brown, I think they would be a Super Bowl contender. So maybe they are. And speaking of that, I do want to get into this because I do wonder if at the trade deadline, the Titans, I get very discouraged thinking about the position the Titans are in at the trade deadline. and why I have a lot of empathy for what I think they're probably going through right now. And I want to get to that specific thing, and I want to do that next. And, of course, your phones. Do you think they should make a trade? Do they owe it to themselves to pick up the phone and look for a receiver? And I'm talking about a good receiver. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get into that. FanDuel Sportsbook, my official sportsbook app. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and it is the perfect time in the middle of the season to download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just sign up with the promo code JGM. FanDuel has all of your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props, and you can combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same-game parlay. With live betting, you'll get updated odds on the games that have already started, and you'll get paid winnings quickly. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So sign up today with the promo code JGM for your no-sweat bet. That's promo code JGM, and make every moment more this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and older and present, Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
2, 3, 4, look out!
High school football is here. Join Big Joe Dubin every Friday night at 6 for the Apple Collision Center's Game Blitz, presented by National Playmakers Academy.
Just a small sample of these great coaches in our area.
We'll go around the mid-state for scores and reports on all the big games.
If I'm a high school coach, I want the challenge.
The Game Blitz is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
There are jewelry stores, and then there's Genesis Diamonds, the cutting-edge industry leader, the pioneer. It's no secret that jewelry stores across America watch what Genesis is doing. Genesis was the first to offer a free lifetime warranty, the first to offer a 110% diamond upgrade guarantee, the first to offer aggressive long-term zero-interest financing. And Genesis is always on the cutting edge in design and fashion. The styles other jewelers say are new and exciting were new and exciting for us 4 years ago. Genesis has the fashion-forward brands other stores aren't even allowed to carry. It's no wonder you see jewelers from other cities coming to Genesis to see what we're all about, and even buy their wives' jewelry from us. For selection, quality, service, warranties, and guarantees, Genesis leads. Others follow. So for diamonds, engagement rings, exclusive designer jewelry for any occasion, don't compromise. Come to the jeweler that sets the industry standards year after year. Genesis Diamonds and pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
It's on, it's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way, I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Other guys running RPOs aren't running their quarterbacks as much. You know, the Aaron Rodgers of the world.
Second and 10. Oh, boy. Deep ball it is. And it is caught for the touchdown. A.J. Brown from 39 yards out.
And this is why you go give up a lot of precious resources to bring in a top-flight wide receiver. A.J. Brown off to an incredible start in his career. He's one of only 3 people through 50 games over 3,500 yards, Jim, and 25 or more touchdowns.
It's 3rd and 8. Down the field they go, and he's got a second touchdown of the game. A.J. Brown, unstoppable so far. He's a coach's son, and he knows that you never get ahead of yourself. As Hurts going down the field, can he do it again? Yes, they can! A.J. Brown, incredible. Touchdown number 3.
You know, if you get 3 touchdowns, I guess you're allowed to point fingers and get a penalty, because that's going to be a little too cocky.
Sounds even worse when you actually hear it. A.J. Brown, and we are on trade deadline day, and let me say a couple of things here. One, I voted for that referendum.
I did as well.
You know, I wasn't expecting them to trade A.J. Brown. When they traded A.J. Brown, I was cool with it. The A.J. Brown trade has been an unmitigated disaster for the Tennessee Titans. There is no way around it. The only positive about the A.J. Brown trade is that the team is 5-2. Other than that, the passing attack is horrendous. The receiving core is abysmal. The entire offense is dead last in the NFL.
The receiver they drafted to replace A.J. Brown can't stay on the field.
Ain't worth a damn right now. I mean, he ain't worth. I mean, how many catches does Treylon Burks have?
I don't know.
7. I mean, ain't worth a damn
right now.
And so everything that the Titans have done, I mean, it's an unmitigated disaster. And when I talk about kind of empathizing with the Titans here at the trade deadline, here's one thing I think about. How hard is it to not want to go pull the trigger on a deal because they know they screwed up on the AJ trade? They know it. I know it. And I am willing to admit that I didn't think A.J. Brown was this good. I mean, I knew A.J. Brown was really, really good.
Yeah.
But I didn't think A.J. Brown was this good. I mean, A.J. Brown right now is best receiver in the NFL.
Probably so.
The best receiver in the league.
On probably the best team in the league.
I know, but Jalen Hurts. I mean, I ain't changing my opinion to Jalen Hurts because he's been lighting it up. I think Jalen Hurts is lighting it up because he got A.J. Brown.
And I do wonder how much of it is A.J. Brown is playing like this because he needed a change of scenery and he needed to get away from the Titans.
I do wonder if A.J. Brown needed to rocket up his rear end and
Yes.
that the Titans trading him has been, the ignition to that.
That he has that Michael Jordan mentality. If you're going to disrespect me, I'll prove you wrong. And that's what he needed. And it just stinks that the Titans are on the other side of that.
And I was thinking about it today, too. I was thinking about, all the childish stuff, the football camp, the changing his Twitter bio.
Marcus Mariota is the best leader I've been around.
All of the AJ bullcrap. And yet, he would have been worth it. And so how hard is it today on trading, day to not be calling around? Because I like Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Lions if they call for him. I like Cortland Sutton of the Broncos, though I wouldn't give a first-round pick for him. I think DJ Moore's kind of a pipe dream. But how much of it, too, is trying to chase after the A.J. Brown that they traded away?
Everything is chasing after A.J. Brown that they traded away. Everything.
So then are they supposed to, by that logic, are they supposed to sit back to what they thought in April and say, hey, because if they thought that Tannehill wasn't the guy, which I didn't think in April that Tannehill was the guy, if they thought that then, that hasn't changed. I mean, even though Tannehill's playing better this year than he was last year, that hasn't changed. I mean, I still think they get into an AFC championship game at Buffalo, Ryan Tannehill's going to have to throw for 350 yards, and I just don't think even with A.J. Brown that Ryan Tannehill's going to go on the road to Buffalo in an AFC championship game and throw for 350 yards.
But it's a lot easier to do that when you have a number one wide receiver.
It's a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
And so that takes me to, do you make a move today because you're mad at yourself for the A.J. move that you made? And I will tell you this right now. Yes.
Well, I mean, the Titans can't just sit back and punish themselves and sulk over the fact that they made a really bad trade and it looks like a really bad trade a few months after.
Horrible.
You cannot just sit back and say, darn it, shouldn't have done that. Now let's enjoy our 32nd ranked offense in the NFL. You got to get over it. But it does hurt. The fact that I was thinking, okay, if I would love it if the Titans made a trade for DJ Moore. It's not going to happen, but what would you have to trade in order to get him? I thought maybe like a first and a third and a first and a fourth. Well, that's what they got in return for A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown is a much better receiver than DJ Moore. So just thinking those things through made it hurt even worse.
And DJ Moore makes $25 million next year.
Oh.
So it's the money that you would have spent.
You would have had
on
to
AJ.
Pay AJ probably less.
Yeah.
I mean, I was for it at the time, and I will fully accept the fact that I was dead wrong.
The thing that got me was I got too caught up in the negotiation stuff. I
think
got
that's
too,
fair, though.
He's going to come in here and he's going to be upset about that. They should have just done what the 49ers did with
What
Deebo
would
Samuel
make us think that
just
he wouldn't have come in and caused a stink and been dramatic about it?
I think about it like
A.J. Brown, known to be awfully dramatic.
AJ said he would have taken 22, right? That's what he told TD.
That's what he said.
Now, AJ, and the truth don't always go hand in hand, but he said he told TD he said he would have taken 22. I believe AJ's telling the truth when he said that the Titans offered 16 up to 20 with escalators, that I believe that AJ was telling the truth as to what he knew at that time. Not what the Titans had offered, but that's what AJ thought they had offered because Tory Dandy, his agent, I think probably lied to him. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm making the agent out to be the bad guy. I don't know. But I do think that ultimately the 20, remember the contract that I came up with was like $69 million in guaranteed money and 22 and a half. And,
yeah.
I mean, I ultimately think that they would have, agreed on that and that AJ would be here and that you would have had your first round pick in last year's draft, which they later traded out of to get more picks. They would have had that first round pick and they'd still have AJ. And so now,
then that brings up the argument of, are you going to pay an wide receiver $22.5 million a year and $69 million guaranteed when he's not consistently on the field and when he's always hurt?
He's not hurt this
year. That's another thing. That's just an anomaly to me.
And the guy they traded for is hurt.
Because I thought that they traded A.J. Brown for a younger, cheaper, healthier A.J. Brown. When in reality, they traded away a healthy A.J. Brown for an unhealthy A.J. Brown. That can't stay on the field. And is younger and cheaper, but still.
I saw a stat yesterday. I don't know how accurate this is. Treylon Burks has 10 catches. I saw a stat yesterday that the Titans wide receiving core has one less yard combined than A.J. this season.
I'm sure AJ loves that.
I mean, I think the Titans have a chance to win on Sunday when they go to Kansas City. I really do.
I think there's a chance, yeah,
I
absolutely.
think they'd have a lot better chance if they had A.J. Brown on their team. And as much as I hear those Jim Nantz calls for those touchdowns, and I think, oh, God. As much as I think of that, I'm like, what do you think they think? Do you think they think, hey, these were our core reasons for this trade? We stand by our core reasons for this trade? Or do you think they think, oh, why?
I think somewhere in the middle.
All right, I see your phones. We're to them next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Plus, I have another theory on the AJ thing. And Bill Polian talks about why he doesn't expect DJ Moore to get traded. We'll get to that. Caroline, tell us about the Caesar Sportsbook app.
It is time for the Caesar Sportsbook Report. Now, first thing is first with Caesars. Your first bet is on Caesars up to $1,250. Just download the app and use the promo code RADIOFULL. One word, RADIOFULL, and then wager. And if you win, then congratulations. Go spend that money somewhere fun. But if not, don't worry about it because you'll get that stake back as a free bet. So I'm looking at some baseball tonight. The game last night was postponed. So I'm looking at Phillies win and Bryce Harper records just one hit tonight at plus 200 odds. So if you think the Phillies are going to pull it out, put some money on it, or you can make your own parlay with the Caesar Sportsbook app. It's open to new users in Tennessee who are 21 or older. If qualifying bet loses, bet amount returned as a credit. Most used within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Caesar Sportsbook. You bet, you get.
Want a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game?
Yes.
Tune in to Robbie and Rex Road every weekday Preds game day at 8:45 for Preds Pick to Click. Guess a goal scorer and win.
I'll take Roman Yost.
Matt Duchene.
Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
Fred's Pick to Click.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Need cash for the holidays or to pay off credit cards right now? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. This is great. You can keep your low mortgage rate and still get cash out. That's right. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low rate. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will come your way, and it only costs you around $300 a month. Use that money to pay off whatever bills you have, credit cards, consolidate other debt, or start a home improvement project. With Loan Pronto, you can access up to 95% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need the appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Do it now before the holidays. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Chronic joint pain has a snowball effect. It's not just the pain.
What that did is just make me depressed that I couldn't get back into the gym, and I was inactive, gaining weight. I had to find another alternative.
And for Chad, that alternative was QC Kinetics and the non-surgical natural biologic treatments that can give lasting relief to aching hips, shoulders, knees, and backs.
Once they explained it, it made sense. Putting what we have inside our body back into us in a certain strategic way to heal up in a natural process was fantastic.
QC Kinetics treatments take place right in the office. No downtime, no surgery. And as for the outcome,
I'm just back to bouncing around, having fun, doing my work, living pain-free.
Don't let chronic joint pain rob you of your quality of life. Discover advanced regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. Call now to learn more. It's a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Jonathan Hutton.
You have to put the ball in his hands in that moment.
And Chad Withrow.
My kicker's making no decisions on a football team.
Are in the game. Join them for NFL postgame after every Titans home game. Live from Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on Broadway. They'll break down that day's game and look ahead to the next one. NFL postgame is presented by Two Rivers Ford, Renter's Warehouse, and Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You know, everybody's saying, well, Carolina should get rid of Moore. He's their only receiver. I mean, everybody else is replaceable. So are you going to get rid of a guy that's still young, that has a chance to be the keystone upon which you can build in the future, ostensibly with a new quarterback next year? You know, if you're going to get a 1 for him, maybe. You're going to get a 2 for him, maybe. I wouldn't do it for 3.
There you go. That was Bill Polian on SiriusXM NFL Radio about DJ Moore. And again, he said if you get a 1 for DJ Moore, maybe. Now, there's no indications that Carolina's going to trade him. But then again, before today, there was no indication that the Lions were going to trade TJ Hawkinson. So who knows? But you heard right there, you know, you're building around a new quarterback next year. He's the only receiver they have. He's the only guy to go get. And I'm thinking, yeah, who would trade the only receiver that they have?
The Titans.
Oh, wait. I do have one quick theory. I see your phone's lined up, and I promise, right to him. My theory is we all thought that AJ was like the 15th best receiver in the NFL. Mm-hmm. In hindsight, he might be the best receiver in the NFL. I think that's the Todd Downing effect.
Well, I mean, that wasn't hating on A.J. Brown. That was the reality of the wide receiver market at the time, that A.J. Brown was like maybe top 10, maybe squeaked in at 9 or 10, but really realistically was top 15.
12, something like that.
Yeah.
And Todd Downing just...
And it's not like Jalen Hurts is some sort of elite quarterback, so much better than Ryan Tannehill.
He ain't worth... Todd Downing ain't worth a damn. 32nd in the NFL in total offense. Phones. Rick. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Rick is up next on the wide receiver market for the Titans. They have, by my count, 26 minutes to go at the trade deadline. Go ahead, Rick.
Well, to answer your question, yes, they should, but no, they won't. The reason they won't is it just makes them look foolish. which they did make a very, very foolish decision. And, guys, it's just amazing of how you have just take one player like AJ off your team, and the domino effect is just amazing. Just think, if we had him, maybe the number one receiver in the league, combine that, without a doubt, the most dominant running back in the league, a defense that's showing up, and a more than adequate quarterback. Yeah, we would be in the running, but I don't think they'll do anything.
So here's the thing, though, and I appreciate your call, Rick. Here's the thing about that. The Titans are in the exact same spot that they were last year. It's them, Kansas City, and Buffalo. And Kansas City. So here we are screaming about wide receiver, and I've been screaming today. And yet they're in the exact same spot. If they had played at Kansas City last season, in the AFC Championship game, I do wonder what the line would have been in a Kansas City at Nissan Stadium AFC Championship game. I'm going to guess Kansas City 4 would have probably been the line.
I was going to say like 3 and a half.
Especially because the Titans had already smoked them earlier in the season at Nissan Stadium. That probably would have weighted down. But I still think Kansas City would have been favored.
Yeah.
And so, yet, here you are. I mean, you're in the exact same spot. You're in the exact, and if you make a field goal against the freaking Giants, and not to, say, well, if this happened or that happened or whatever, but the Giants are not a bad team, apparently.
No, they're not.
If you make a field goal against the freaking Giants, you have one loss on the season, and you're right up there
against
with
probably the best team in the league.
Against by far the best team, in my opinion. By far the best team in the league. So, I mean, we're sitting here crying about this, whatever. And again, I told you all after the playoff game that you can't do it with Tannehill. And I still think you can't do it with Tannehill. So if you can't do it with Tannehill, what difference does A.J. Brown really make? The Titans are going to win the division. They're going to get to the playoffs. And then you can't do it with Tannehill.
Well, beyond Tannehill, if Todd Downing's your offensive coordinator, then what difference does A.J. Brown make?
So in the Jewish tradition, the holiday Purim, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the bad guy in the story of Purim is Haman. Mm-hmm. And we were taught in preschool, so I went to the JCC, and we were taught in preschool that whenever you heard Haman's name, you're supposed to say boo, and that's how I feel about Todd Downing. Boo!
Boo! Who shall not be named.
I will say this about Downing. I did watch the tape, the Malik Willis tape, which, I mean, Downing got guys open. Malik just chose to not look at him. Titans in Truth. Chris is up next. Thank you for calling. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, my friend, Caroline, let's put this all to bed right now. Yes, as everybody said, and I've even said it too, they should make a move. They won't. The A.J. Brown trade, as I thought on draft night when that trade was made, that was the dumbest move John Robinson, because I'm not calling him J-Rob anymore, John Robinson could ever possibly make. It is a disaster, as you said, and it seems a very not doing anything at this trade deadline with the 32nd ranked offense, the worst offense in the league, like you predicted, I believe a week or 2 weeks ago, that this tells us they don't want to win, that they are just fine being the worst offense in the league.
See, I don't believe that.
But won't go far in the playoffs.
Like, I don't believe that they don't want to win. You think Mike Vrabel doesn't want to win?
They don't want to win big. They seem to be content. We have no weapons at receiver. We have no left tackle. All we have is Derrick Henry and a good defense. They stopped Derrick Henry. What are we going to do? Go to Cody Hollister? They love blocking wide receivers, which I do not understand that infatuation.
So
what is
Chris,
up with Vrabel and Downing loving blocking wide receivers so much?
Chris, I agree. I'd rather have catching
running offense.
I'd rather have catching wide receivers than blocking wide receivers. I appreciate your call, but they're not. The reality is, it's not that they don't want to win; it's that they guessed wrong.
And the reality is, it's not that they just wanted to get rid of A.J. Brown. They thought that they were replacing A.J. Brown. They thought that they were getting something better in return and more cost-effective and a cheaper A.J. Brown, and it just didn't come to fruition that way.
I mean, I do wonder, like, not to say that these go hand in hand, but I do wonder, how much it is, hey, because I think the salary cap's fake, but the money is not.
The money's not.
The money's not fake.
$69 million guaranteed or whatever it was.
Hey, you're going to have to pay this receiver $100 million. Mm-hmm. You're already paying the running back $15 million. You're paying the quarterback. I mean, Tannehill's going to be the quarterback next year. I mean, so they're going to have to pay him all this money. We're selling all of our stuff in Houston in order to put $800 million towards this new stadium. There is a budget here. Not the salary cap, because that's fake. But there is
check that Amy Adams Strunk would have to write.
There is a real budget here. I do wonder about that. And then that does go with his thing about, do they want to win? But as far as John Robinson wanting to win,
they want to win.
They want to win. Kevin is up next on the AJ trade. Thank you for calling. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, I don't really blame John Robinson for a lot of things because, COVID was weird and just, but the one thing that I do hold against him isn't trading A.J. Brown, but it's what he got in return for him. And I'm not talking about the first round pick, but we gave away a receiver who was super young, super talented. We all knew he was super young and super talented. He wanted to go to Philly. There was nothing we could really do about that, but we don't have anything to show in future draft picks for it. That's
there
my
was
biggest
everything
complaint.
You could have done about it. What are you talking about?
What I'm saying is, if we knew that he wanted to go to Philly, I think we should have held out and got a second-round pick next year. We didn't leverage anything to get future draft picks. We just got the first-round draft pick for Traylon.
Well, and you got the third-round pick. You got the equivalent, according to the Jimmy Johnson trade chart, of the 16th overall pick in the draft. That's what you got. You got Burks
I feel like
and
we
Willis.
could have got more than that, though.
I don't disagree, but we didn't know that A.J. was that good, and neither did they. And I go back to my earlier theory. Thank you for your call, Kevin. I go back to my earlier theory that Todd Downing is why we didn't know A.J. was that good. I mean, A.J.'s best, if you want Stephon Diggs, okay. But honestly, A.J. right now is playing like the best receiver in the league. I mean, you hear Tony Romo in the broadcast like, Jim, this is why you trade for all those picks for A.J.
It really wasn't all those picks.
I mean, again, it was Willis and Burks.
It was 2 picks.
It was Willis and Burks. Because I got Gentry Estes texting me right now being like, well, they were able to get Roger McCreary because of that trade. I'm like, what? And he's like, well, yeah, because they didn't have a second-round pick from the Julio trade, so they traded their first-round pick, and they got more picks, and they traded back into the second round with that first-round pick. I'm like, well, the responsibility for McCreary is that first-round pick, not A.J. Brown.
No.
It didn't have anything to do with that.
Well, maybe they wouldn't have been as willing to trade their existing first-round pick for the second-round pick if they didn't have that Traylon Burks pick, but that feels a little convoluted to me.
To me, it's this. A.J. equals Traylon and Willis. That's it. Nothing else. A.J., in my opinion, equals Traylon and Willis. That's it. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We're right back to the phones. 16 and a half minutes remain until the trade deadline, in which we are all expecting to be very disappointed at the Titans' lack of movement for the 30-second offense. Back to your phones. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 the game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback. 185! That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown.
Tim. ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
How that team is built, I think there's a lot to like about them.
Every Tuesday at noon, Tim with Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Presented by Red Spirits and Wine in Bellevue and BetUS.com on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Pope. It's a great day ahead of us. Another warm start to the day leads to a warm afternoon. Low to middle 70s for high temperatures with decreasing cloud cover. Our next rain threat does not come until the upcoming weekend.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Teron Davenport here for Superbook Sports. Can you beat Vegas this football season? Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms. No guys across the pond setting lines for American sports. Just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com and start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Hutton for the Low T Center. Guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Schedule your complete health assessment at Low T Center. They now offer the convenience of monitored self-injected home testosterone treatments for $155 a month cash pay or covered by most health insurance. If you don't live near a Low T Center or you just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy to get started. Only your first 2 visits are in person. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
312 Pizza Company is a family-owned restaurant located in the heart of Germantown, serving up authentic Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. 312 Pizza Company only uses the best all-natural ingredients and makes everything in-house from scratch every single day. And trust me, you can taste the difference. They've got deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, their Italian beef. You'll taste the freshness. Stop in for a pint of local beer and a slice of pizza, or order online at 312pizzacode.com. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Hey everybody, Big Joe here for Apple Collision Centers. And you know I'm always on the go, but the distraction that an automobile accident causes could even slow my pace down to a stop. But my friend and CEO of Apple Collision Centers, Stan Harrison, has a plan to get you and I back on the road and fast.
We at Apple Collision Centers know you deserve the best quality service. We always recommend original equipment parts, and we use only the best Sherwin-Williams finishes. 3 convenient locations, Hendersonville, Gallatin, and Old Hickory. And you can always visit us online for your estimate needs at applecollisioncenters.com.
Hey guys, Jeremy here, General Manager at Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars at 508 Church Street. Blend was voted Best Cigar Lounge in the world in 2017 and the Best Cigar Lounge in the country in 2020. It is the perfect spot to unwind after your workday or at nighttime. We are a trendy, upscale, luxurious bar experience. Visit Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars at 508 Church Street. Visit us online at blendbarcigar.com. We are luxury redefined.
Chase McCabe.
Competition in all positions.
Willie Donick.
You know what? I went on the radio and I tried.
And Derek Mason.
The man that sleeps on the floor never falls out the bed.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Right, and the contract right now is not really a big deal. It's about the minimum because he was restructured for this season. The issue is the many millions of fully guaranteed money for next year. $18 million, I believe, is the correct number there. And if someone's going to take on Cooks, you're saying I'm taking on this and going to guarantee him so much money next year, plus obviously that money due right up as soon as the trade is done. So obviously that's a big deal as well. And I would say, you know, I don't sense a lot of momentum on a potential Brandon Cooks deal. I don't sense something is on the verge of happening. I know there's been some calls. I know the price is going to be pretty high for the Houston Texans to deal with him. So unless something crazy happens in the next couple hours, I'm not sure this one gets done either.
Okay, Brandon Cooks, he's on the block, did not practice today, and they are playing on Thursday, so you need to be at practice on Tuesday when your team plays on Thursday. But apparently he's owed $18 million guaranteed next year, and nobody wants to pay Brandon Cooks $18 million. Let me say this. If the Titans were to trade for Brandon Cooks, it should be for a seventh. Like, it should be a seventh if you're taking on the $18 million next year. And not only that, if you're going to pay Brandon Cooks $18 million, but you won't pay A.J. Brown $22, how stupid are you?
Pretty stupid.
So keep that in mind when we think about these trades.
But that's also assuming that A.J. Brown would have signed for 22.
He told TD he would have.
I know.
And you think that A.J. would have dealt with 2 tags or taken the 22?
Taking the 22.
I mean, I think he would have too. So I go back to, the 32nd ranked offense in the NFL. And yet they're in the exact same spot they were last year. The less than 12 minutes to go until the trade deadline. The Titans have not made a move, and none of us expect the Titans to make a move. But maybe we could all be surprised, just like we were surprised on draft night when we didn't expect them to trade A.J. Brown, and they did. Unfortunately, that has turned out to be a bad surprise. Hopefully they can make a good surprise here in the next 11 minutes. Adam in Portland is up next here on the program. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Adam.
I would so love AJ's baggage right now.
Me too.
That was my big thing. Was like, man, he's so immature, and he sees his boy Julio get hurt, so he's like, it's cool to be hurt all the time. And then he goes away, and he's just a monster. Every week I look for him, I'm like, this has to be the week where he goes out hurt or only gets 24 yards receiving, and it's like 3 touchdowns before halftime, and it just makes me sick. And I sit here like 11 minutes to go, and it feels negligent, Jared. It's like it's not complicated. If your team sucks, you save money and you trade your players. If you're really good, you sit there. We're not really good. We're 5-2 and the most one-dimensional team in the entire league. So I'm frustrated as a season ticket holder because I'm like, you got an opportunity. Even if all your players are healthy, you have Cooks and you have Phillips and you have Burks and you have a bunch of receivers that aren't good. So you need to do something right here. Like, you've got to do something. It doesn't make sense.
No, I hear you. I agree. And I don't, I thank you for your call, Adam. Either you have to admit that you don't have good enough players, or that this offensive coordinator that you've run down our throats for the last 2 years, who now currently has the 32nd ranked offense, is no good.
Well, they're not going to make a move.
You have to pick one or the other.
So they have admitted that they don't have good enough players, and they're fine with that.
Do you think that they think that?
Well, if they don't make a move within the next 10 minutes, don't you think that's kind of
their
way of accepting that?
Why would you waste this opportunity?
Or maybe they think they do have good enough players to compete, and they don't need to add any more pieces, and that they're getting along just fine being a run-first team with a really good defense.
You know they don't think that they can survive on Sunday night with the 32nd ranked offense in the NFL.
Then why stay put?
I don't know. That's a really good question.
Because to me, not making a trade at the trade deadline is acknowledging or is accepting the fact that we're good with the players that we have. We're good with the team that we have.
Well, unless somebody asked for the moon and, the Hawkinson deal, of all the deals that have been made today, Bradley Chubb for a first and Calvin Ridley to the Jags and, Chase Claypool for a second. I would have gone bananas if they had traded a second-round pick for Chase Claypool. The one that I liked was the Hawkinson deal, because I think Hawkinson is a legitimate number 1 tight end, and Minnesota basically acquired him for a second-round pick, which is going to be a late second-round pick because Minnesota is probably the 5th best team in the league right now. And so they're probably going to win that division, and Minnesota is going to go to the playoffs, and they probably won't win. And I would say Minnesota is in the exact same situation the Titans are in, which is they're going to make the playoffs. They're in a bad division. And at the end of the day, nobody in the country thinks that they can win anything with the quarterback that they have. That's just kind of what it is. But they're doing it. Like, Minnesota's like, yeah, we'll get a free, a number 1 tight end for a late second round pick. The Titans, and we don't know because, again, we have 8 minutes to go. And they could be on the phone and people could be asking for anything outrageous. But the Titans have the 32nd ranked offense in the NFL. And they're not doing anything? They're not trying to get another receiver in here? Like, it's fine if you guys think Burks, once he gets healthy, is going to be the truth. Now, I can't stand Burks because there's always something with Burks. It's always his asthma, or he's not in good shape, or he's got turf toe, or those aren't his fault, but it's always something. And I don't like the always something guys. So I don't think that he'll ever be A.J. Brown because it'll always be something that gets in the way. But at the same time, if they think like, oh, yeah, no, Treylon Burks coming back is going to be our trade deadline acquisition, well, then they better be right about this. Because the A.J. Brown thing was such a bad trade right now that I don't think fans will. This team is going to make the playoffs. And I think we all agree that this team, would have a chance to compete. And yet, we all know that they're not going to against Buffalo and maybe Kansas City. I really don't consider Kansas City on the same level as Buffalo. Maybe I'll eat my words on Sunday night. But I really just don't. But this offense is terrible. They have the worst offense in the league. And they're not going to do anything about it? So then that must mean that they think their players are good.
Yeah. They think that they're in a fine spot, or they think they're in a fine enough spot that they're not willing to trade what it would take to upgrade.
Or they're not allowed to pay the money.
Yes.
So that would be the other side of this coin. That is that while they've got to pay Simmons all this money, and they're going to. They're not going to trade Jeffrey Simmons. If they trade Jeffrey Simmons after what he's doing right here, they will get run out of town. I mean, this would be like let's say the Titans trade Jeffrey Simmons in the offseason because Simmons wants $31 million a year, quarterback money.
Give it to him.
I'm not saying they can give him, whatever he wants, but they can negotiate with him.
Oh, yeah.
But let's say that what happens with him is what happened with AJ, and they end up trading him. Like, all of a sudden, it's going to be like, the Metro Council has rethought the idea of the new stadium here. They're just not very happy about, because they're going to get run out of town for how unpopular that decision would be. Just sitting here looking at the clock.
6 minutes?
No, now we're down to about
15
seconds. And it's like, I mean, is it a sign?
Keep refreshing Twitter.
If they don't make a move, is it a sign that either they think they can compete with this team or that they made the same decision that I made, which is you can't win with Tannehill, so why try?
I don't think that they believe that.
Do you think they're going to Super Bowl with Tannehill?
It might be neither of those two things, and it could be we think that we are just a healthy Treylon Burks away from being able to compete for the AFC.
They don't think that.
You don't think that.
Vrabel doesn't think
that.
They
have to think that. They just traded their number one wide receiver for Treylon Burks. They have to think that they can be a healthy Treylon Burks away from competing for a Super Bowl.
You think that if a time machine was real and they went back to the draft, do you think they would redo the AJ trade?
I don't know. I don't think they can think like that.
I think they tell themselves. I think they tell themselves they can't think like that. I'm sure they second guess themselves all the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
They try to think about where did we go wrong with this or where did we go wrong with that.
Could we have figured something out? Could we have pushed back a little bit harder on A.J. Brown? I'm sure they thought about those things. But you can't.
4 minutes. 4 minutes until the Titans prove to us that they are content with getting knocked out of the first round of the playoffs. Phone lines and the text line, 615-737-1025. What do we have?
Josh texts in and says the Titans knew how good AJ is. The Titans are acting like the Preds, perfectly fine with being decent, not great, but not bad, so they can get better.
So I think the Titans and the Predators are in two totally different situations. And I think the reason behind that is the Predators don't have any A-level players. Like the game-changing players. Like, watch the game tonight. Edmonton has Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. They don't have any other players, but those two guys are A-plus level players. The Predators have a bunch of B-level players. That's it. All those guys are B-level players. Johansson and Niederreiter and McDonough and Ekholm and, maybe Yossi's an A-level player. But the Titans have the best running back in the league and maybe the best defensive lineman in the league not named Aaron Donald, and I haven't watched Aaron Donald play this year. So the Titans have two of the best 15 players in the NFL, and they are being carried by the two of the best 15 players that they have in the league. And then, of course, there's other guys that are doing well, like Autry and Hooker and Bud Dupree and Tier Tart and, those guys. But it's pretty much those two. 615-737-1025. The trade deadline will have passed. But all that matters is that the teams get the email in by 3 o'clock, which means we could see some trades trickle out. I'm still not expecting the Titans to make a trade. And I do wonder this. Okay, here we go.
Oh?
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. What?
The Colts traded Nyheim Hines to Buffalo.
Oh, God.
He's perfect for what they want to do.
Oh, God.
He's perfect for what they want to do. Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
John! They just traded Nyheim Hines to the Bills. So while you're busy getting rid of A.J. Brown, they're busy signing Von Miller and trading for Nyheim Hines.
The Colts really are waving the white flag, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. 6-1, and somebody else will get fired next week, too.
Oh, yeah.
Someone's losing their job every week with Indianapolis. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company will react to whatever doesn't happen at the trade deadline. We'll do that next. 102.5-106.3 The Game.
You watch the game.
Tannehill, he can run, and he does. Touchdown.
We talk the game.
I think this is Vrabel giving Tannehill more authority over the team.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Attention sportsmen. This November 8th, hunting is on the ballot. The Biden administration continues to close millions of acres of public land to hunting, and now D.C. liberals are banning common ammunition. Joe Biden and the enablers pulling his strings won't stop until you're only allowed to hunt in your backyard with a slingshot. On November 8th, it's critical for Tennessee sportsmen and women to go hunting with their votes and elect Andy Ogles to Congress. We need a congressman who will stand up to the liberal left and fight for the rights of Tennessee hunters and gun owners. Andy Ogles will be a champion for the rights of Tennessee sportsmen and women. Andy Ogles will protect hunting access, our Second Amendment rights, and our hunting heritage. Vote Andy Ogles for Congress, November 8th. Hunter Action Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. 4800 Westgate Pass Road, Tucson, Arizona, 85745.
Calling all sweet tooths. Head to Nashville Toffee Company, a place where rich, chocolatey daydreams are created from a secret family recipe generations in the making. Their toffees and candies are handcrafted in Nashville using all natural, kosher-certified ingredients. Sweet creamery butter, pure cane sugar, premium roasted nuts, deep rich chocolate, and sea salt. Visit NashvilleToffeeCompany.com or drop by their headquarters on Air Lane Drive for a positively hassle-free shopping experience. Whether you're buying for 1 or 100, Nashville Toffee Company is here to make your holiday gift giving easy.
Hey, it's Hutton. Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments, so the first payment is not until spring of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
National Playmakers Academy with former Vols Buck Fitzgerald and James Stone, along with former Austin Peay Governor Vic Wright, offer one of the best football developmental organizations in the nation. MPA has over 30 NFL alumni, 800-plus college football scholarship signees, and 25 high school football All-Americans. If you have a student athlete in middle school or high school that is looking for the best football training and college football recruiting help around, contact National Playmakers Academy today, 615-456-2680. Or email april.mpafootball@gmail.com.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics wants to thank their patients for voting them the #1 orthopedic practice in the Nashville Scene Poll for 3 years in a row. Their physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game,
Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. The trade deadline has come and gone. The Titans did not make a trade.
Not surprised. A little disappointed, but not surprised.
Okay. Big picture reaction around the room with the Titans not making a trade. Who wants to go first?
I will. I don't feel any different. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to win the division. I think they could squeak past the wild card round, and I think they probably get bounced in the divisional round of the playoffs. It's kind of how I felt for the past 2 weeks.
Okay. No trade at the trade deadline, Ian. What is your reaction to the Titans' decision? Caroline seems, if I had to address what you just said, I would say you are nonchalant about it.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Okay.
I didn't expect anything, so I don't have a feeling one way or another.
Okay, Ian, what would your feeling about the Titans' inactivity at the trade deadline be?
I mean, pretty status quo. I figured it's what we would expected. I don't think we expected any type of major moves.
Man, you guys really are.
Were we expecting some type of major blockbuster?
I mean, honestly, I was expecting him to do something.
You were expecting them to do something,
No, you're
or
right.
you
I wasn't
wanted them
expecting
to do something?
I would say that I'm between disappointed and outraged. I'm somewhere.
You're outraged?
I said I'm between it.
Okay, but you're between outraged?
Between disappointed and outraged. That's how I feel.
Why?
Because I don't know what their plan is. And they're not going to tell us. And I do think you, the fans, are entitled. Tomorrow, Mike Vrabel will speak. In fact, let me check this because they did send out the media schedule, and I wonder who's on it. So for tomorrow, right now, Vrabel and Tannehill are scheduled to speak at the podium. John Robinson normally doesn't speak unless he has to, as dictated by the league, like the draft, the start of training camp, things like that. He does that TV show with Mike Keith that nobody ever watches, but they don't ever hammer away at John, why didn't you try to make a trade to improve the 32nd ranked offense in the National Football League? They're not going to ask him that question on that show. But I do think that those things, I do think he owes you an explanation. And when I say you, I mean the fans. I think John Robinson does owe an explanation. Because if the prices were too high, right? Like, let's say you called the Lions for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And it was a first or bust.
And they said, we want a first and a third, and that's it. Then fine. Okay, I get it. The prices were too high. But I feel like he owes an explanation to the fans about how the Titans are standing pat when the Buffalo Bills are adding Nyheim Hines.
But he's never going to tell you.
When the Miami Dolphins are adding Bradley Chubb. When when the Baltimore Ravens are adding Roquan Smith. All the teams in the AFC are trying to get better. And here you are after you made the worst trade of the year. Like, at least Kansas City, in the trade that they made for Tyreek Hill, got some players in the draft that actually play for them. Whereas the Titans, I mean, they got nothing on offense. A.J. Brown's got more receiving yards than all the receivers on the team combined. They're averaging 132 yards per game passing in the last 5 games that they've won. They're the 32nd ranked offense. They're guaranteed to make the playoffs. And it's not like they didn't know this week that they were going to make the playoffs. They know they're going to win the AFC South. And so
then is that maybe why?
Why sit on your ass? That's the question that, again, I think John Robinson owes you, the fans, is why sit on your ass after you screwed up the AJ trade? And again, I voted for the AJ trade. I was for it. But I'm going to tell you, it was wrong as hell because this team is a mess on offense. I mean, here's what they got for the A.J. Brown trade right now. And remember that we do live in a league where normally things are usually judged in the here and now, especially because guys get fired off the here and now. Here's what they've gotten from the A.J. Brown trade as of right now. They've gotten 10 catches from Treylon Burks. I believe A.J. might have as many touchdown catches as Treylon has catches because it feels like A.J. averages about 4 a game right now as far as touchdowns are concerned. 10 catches out of Treylon Burks. And whatever you want to call that performance from Malik Willis on Sunday, which I went and watched the tape of his throws, broke it all down, and of the 12 dropbacks that I have, which I'm guessing these are 2 sacks that are in there because he had 10 attempts plus 2 sacks. Of the 12 dropbacks, I charted 2 good decisions by Malik Willis, 2 non-applicable decisions where it wasn't a good decision, it wasn't a bad decision, and 8 bad decisions.
But that
by Malik
performance
Willis
is not about A.J. Brown.
But that was the trade.
I know it was, but Treylon Burks we can talk about. But that Malik performance was not about A.J. Brown.
Again,
I know that was the player that they picked for the trade, the A.J. Brown trade, but I don't view that as apples to apples as much as I do Treylon Burks to A.J. Brown.
Oh, I look at the trade as A.J. for Treylon and Malik.
And your question is, what's the plan?
there's two options here. There's only two ways to look at it. It's either AJ for Treylon Burks and Malik Willis, or it's AJ for the 16th overall pick in the draft, because that is the value of what the Titans received as far as the trade charges.
Which is Treylon Burks.
Now, it would have been something better than that, because it would have been Jahan Dotson, I think, was 16. And then I want to say Zion Johnson was 17 and Burks was 18. But that's what they got, just for me. So, I mean, again, I went back and I showed you the tape today.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are wide freaking open, and Malik's not. He threw the ball away on a play where he had two receivers wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, he's terrible right now. So that's what you're getting out of it. And again, the Titans are going to be one of the top 4 seeds in the AFC playoffs, no matter what happens between now and the end of the season, because Jacksonville sucks and they've given up, and Houston sucks, and I don't know if they've given up, but we saw them play on Sunday, and the Colts fire somebody new every week and just traded Nyheim Hines to Buffalo. So here's Buffalo here's Buffalo signing Von Miller. Here's Buffalo trading for Nyheim Hines. Here's Kansas City out there signing a safety. Here's all these teams doing things, and what have the Titans done different from last year? They traded away A.J. Brown. And so I just think that this team, they are where they are. And right now, the idea that the Titans can run their way to the Super Bowl is just it's not logical. It's not going to happen. They're not going to run 30 times every game for the rest of the year and run to the Super Bowl.
No.
So it's not going to happen. So now, I mean, can you get me a tight end, or you're rolling with Jeff Swain for the rest of the year? Can you get me a wide receiver, or am I rolling with Cody Hollister for the rest of the year? And the answer today is they're rolling with Jeff Swain for the rest of the year. So why? And that's the answer I feel like that he owes you. He doesn't owe it to me, but I feel like he owes it to you, which is, why not? Did you try? Did you really try? Not get on the phone and call about some, random ass bum receiver, Philip Dorsett, and say, hey, we'll give you a 7th for Philip Dorsett. Maybe a 5. Oh, that's too rich. All right. See you, Johnny. All right. Bye. Hang up. But did you try? And all I want to know is that they tried. That's all I want to know. That they actually tried. That they didn't wake up today and think, we're fine with the 32nd ranked offense in the NFL and this coordinator who stinks and we won't fire. We're fine. That's all I want.
Surely they did. But also, if they did try, I don't think they're going to tell you.
I think they owe it to the fans to at least tell them if they tried. And I think Robinson should get up there tomorrow, and I think he should take questions for about 5-10 minutes. And again, if you don't want to say what was what, which he wouldn't want to say it, fine. But tell the fans that you at least tried to put a better product out there on the field for this team on offense, because tomorrow Vrabel's going to get up there, and all Vrabel's going to do is deflect that he doesn't have anything to do with that. And that he's just trying to focus on Kansas City. And so I just think the fans are owed an explanation for why the Titans sat on their hands today and didn't do anything. And do they think that they can't win with Tannehill, so why try? And I think that's a fair question.
But even if they do think that, they are not going to tell you that.
No, but again, I think it's a fair question.
I would like to know.
And you should ask it. And then you can see how you feel in regards to that. So I'd say I'm disappointed, because regardless of what I thought going into the season and what I think now, I said this on Sirius XM on Sunday morning. I go, at some point, you have to forget about everything that you thought in February, March, and May. They don't matter anymore. What you thought about the Green Bay Packers in July is not applicable to what the Green Bay Packers are right now. The Minnesota Vikings are doing that exact thing today when they trade for TJ Hawkinson, which is, we know we're good. And so right now, I didn't think that the AFC would be this bad, but it is. And so, the 32nd ranked offense in the NFL, I thought they'd get more out of Robert Woods. I thought they'd, actually throw the ball to Austin Hooper. I thought that they'd let him play on running downs, those kind of things.
I thought Treylon Burks would be playing.
Boy, what a mess that's been from the start. So, to your phones, 615-737-1025, your reaction to the inactivity of the Titans at the deadline. Stillman and Company on 102.5-1063 The Game. And we are giving away another pair of tickets for the – do not call for this. We are giving away another pair of tickets for the Tennessee-Colorado basketball game. I will come up with the ways. I will give you one of the two clues. You have to tell Ian later in the show the two clues. It'll be in the 5 o'clock hour when you have to tell Ian. But I will give you the first clue in the next segment, and then we will get to your phones. 615-737-1025 is our phone number here on the program. Stillman and Company, 102.5-1063 The Game. Hey, be sure to play silly underdog picks. Pick 3 football underdog teams you think will win this week for a chance to win great prizes. Play now at thegamenashville.com or the 102.5 The Game app. Silly underdog picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. And Superbook Sports voted the #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
The Sports Talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
Have they truly been tested yet?
I really want this to be a good game. Michelle and Junie, every Saturday morning at 9. Presented by Superbook Sports and the Nashville Jam Company.
I think Junie and I are going to go hit breakfast/brunch there after the show.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not, prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. They're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, anything that you could ever possibly want. We have every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here. We ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Calling all sweet tooths, head to Nashville Toffee Company, a place where rich chocolatey daydreams are created from a secret family recipe generations in the making. Their toffees and candies are handcrafted in Nashville using all natural kosher certified ingredients. Sweet creamery, butter, pure cane sugar, premium roasted nuts, deep rich chocolate, and sea salt. Visit NashvilleToffeeCompany.com or drop by their headquarters on Air Lane Drive for a positively hassle-free shopping experience. Whether you are buying for 1 or 100, Nashville Toffee Company is here to make your holiday gift giving easy.
Need cash for the holidays or to pay off credit cards right now? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. This is great. You can keep your low mortgage rate and still get cash out. That's right. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low rate. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will come your way, and it only costs you around $300 a month. Use that money to pay off whatever bills you have, credit cards, consolidate other debt, or start a home improvement project. With Loan Pronto, you can access up to 95% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need the appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Do it now before the holidays. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. You'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Other guys running RPOs aren't running their quarterbacks as much. You know, the Aaron Rodgers of the world.
Right. 2nd and 10. Oh, boy. Deep ball it is. And it is caught for the touchdown. A.J. Brown from 39 yards out.
And this is why you go give up a lot of precious resources to bring in a top-flight wide receiver. A.J. Brown off to an incredible start in his career. He's one of only 3 people through 50 games over 3,500 yards, Jim, and 25 or more touchdowns.
It's 3rd and 8. Down the field they go, and he's got a second touchdown of the game. A.J. Brown, unstoppable so far. He's a coach's son, and he knows that you never get ahead of yourself. As Hurts going down the field, can he do it again? Yes, they can! A.J. Brown, incredible! Touchdown number 3.
You know, if you get 3 touchdowns, I guess you're allowed to point fingers and get a penalty, because that's going to be a little too cocky.
3 touchdowns for A.J. Brown. The Titans have the 32nd ranked offense in the NFL. The Titans made a horrendous trade at the draft. Let me admit that I voted for it. What'd they do to right the wrong today? Nothing! Could they have done something? I don't know. But Buffalo added Nyheim Hines. I mean, they are truly all in. Miami added Bradley Chubb. The Ravens added Roquan Smith. So a lot of teams in the AFC are trying to get better. The Titans, they're cool with the 32nd ranked offense. I did promise phones. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com first, though. The first hint for a pair of tickets to the Tennessee-Colorado basketball game at Bridgestone Arena, do not call right now because we will be giving these away in the 5 o'clock hour. You'll have to recite this fact. And that is Tennessee basketball in the 2007-2008 season was the number 1 team in the country after beating Memphis. That lasted for 1 day. They lost to whom? The answer is Vanderbilt. So we'll ask you that question in the 5 o'clock hour. You better be able to tell Ian. So we're giving you the answers now. We got a second one that you'll have to be listening to for later on in the show. And then you'll have to tell Ian both those answers. And if you do, then you're the first person to do that. You will be going to the game. To your phones. Chuck is up next on the trade deadline and the Titans inactivity. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Chuck.
My question was, Tennessee Titans didn't do anything in this trade, but what do they actually have to offer to get someone decent enough to be a wide receiver or even a lineman, which they desperately need also?
What do you think they have? Picks. That's what everybody trades.
Yeah, but what picks do you have? What picks you going to give up to get a person or a player that is going to make a difference at this point in time that someone's willing to give or trade with?
Okay, well, for instance, the Vikings gave up a 2nd-round pick and a 3rd-round pick next year in order to get T.J. Hawkinson to be their starting tight end. The Titans have those picks.
Do you think the Titans can afford to give those picks away?
Yes. I don't know what you're asking, Chuck, that you've really called. Everybody has picks. And the teams who suck want more picks because they know their team stinks, so they want hope in the future that their team will be very good. How do you get good in the NFL? You get a bunch of picks, and then you draft good players with those picks. When Jimmy Johnson took over the Dallas Cowboys, he had a team that was awful. They were the worst in the league. They drafted Troy Aikman with the 1st pick, and that was all they had. And they had Herschel Walker as their running back. They traded him to the Vikings for a bunch of players that came with conditions that if Jimmy cut the players, then he would receive compensatory picks instead. He did. He got 1st and 2nd round picks from the Vikings. He drafted Russell Maryland, Charles Haley, and Emmitt Smith with those picks. That's why teams want picks. Because these things are lottery tickets. And the more cracks at the apple you have, the better chance you have to get more players that are good. So the bad teams want picks. The good teams want players because they want to win now. What did Nyheim Hines go for? Like a 5th? A 6th?
a conditional 6th in 2023 in Zach Moss.
Nothing. That's what Nyheim Hines went for. A bag of balls is what Nyheim Hines went for. What did the Titans have to offer? They have picks. That's what everybody offers. Picks. So what'd you get for A.J. Brown?
Picks.
Picks.
And it also depends on what's the willingness to trade those picks.
True.
Because maybe the Titans aren't willing to trade their picks in this upcoming draft. I usually tend to not like to trade picks, but I think you also have to weigh, do we have a team currently constructed to win? Is it realistic that this team can compete for a championship, compete for a conference title? Okay. If not, then there's no sense in trading those picks
See,
away.
I don't even think that that's really the discussion is, are the Titans willing to give up picks? I think the discussion is, are the Titans willing to pay whomever they get?
That's
Because
another thing.
whoever they get's going to come either with a contract now or, like in the case of Hawkinson, the tight end that Minnesota just traded for, he's going to have a contract due not next season, but the season after that. And Detroit didn't want to give him a second contract. And so now he's, I think he's $9 million next year, and then he's going to be, probably 18, 19 million after that. And Detroit's like, screw it, we don't want to pay that. Well, the Titans are going to have to pay a contract for Jeffrey Simmons. They're probably going to have to pay a contract to keep Christian Fulton. They've just decided to pay Amani Hooker next year. Mm-hmm. So all these contracts, and again, the cap's fake, but the money is real. They're going to be paying Tannehill next year to be the quarterback, because I don't know if you guys watched Sunday's game, but Tannehill, as of right now, is going to be the quarterback for next year. I mean, I really, unless they, go out and get somebody else, Malik Willis is not going to be the quarterback of the Titans next year.
No.
And if he is, then I will find another team to root for right now, because he is not anywhere. I mean, he's not in the solar system of being able to start on a team that has won 3 straight division titles, which this team will. And then they're going to pay Derrick Henry next year too. They're not getting out of that contract. So my thought is, okay, if they were to deal a 3rd round pick for somebody, would they be willing to take on the salary of that guy? And that's where it's hard to work out a trade.
Well, if you're trading for a 3rd round pick, then you have to be a little bit more negotiable or a little bit more flexible and willing to pay the contract if you're trading a lower round pick.
Or you could trade a 3rd round pick, keep a guy for 2 years, and let him go to free agency.
That too. So
that's kind of, but again, that's, I think, the bigger issue is that everybody that they could have traded for. Jerry Jeudy's an example of this. Mm-hmm. This is why Jerry Jeudy didn't get traded. Not because the Broncos wanted just an unbelievable package in exchange for Jerry Jeudy. That's not it. Jerry Jeudy didn't get traded because Jerry Jeudy has a 5th-year option that is due. So, and I believe that they would exercise that option this year. Well, Jerry Jeudy's never had a 1,000-yard season. So now you're going to have to decide, you want to pay Jerry Jeudy $16 million next year. The Broncos are going to have to decide that. That for the 2022 season, he's under contract for the 21 season, but at the end of the 21 season, he's under contract for the 23 season, but he's not for the 24, but you have to decide before the 23 season if you're going to pay him for the 24 season. So the Broncos trade Jeudy for, a 1st-round pick. So now, team that traded their 1st-round pick for Jerry Jeudy has to exercise the 5th-year option on Jerry Jeudy. So now you got to pay, 13, 14, 15 million bucks for Jerry Jeudy, not for next year, but the year after that. Then you have to sign Jerry Jeudy. Now, I mean, again, Jerry Jeudy, I thought when he was at Alabama was going to be just the freaking bee's knees at wide receiver. I thought he was the next guy. I thought he was Amari Cooper, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, these guys that come into the NFL and they ball out right away from Alabama, Devontae Smith. I thought he was that guy. He's not.
No.
So now are you going to give Jerry Jeudy $20 million a year because that's going to be the going rate for a receiver? And Jerry Jeudy knows that you have to sign him to it because if you don't, somebody else will. And you just gave up a 1st-round pick for him. That's why Jerry Jeudy didn't get traded, because no team wants to make that big of a commitment to a guy who hasn't had a 1,000-yard season yet. And that's where, when it comes down to what did they have to offer, I don't think that's the problem. The Titans have what everybody else has to offer. Picks and conditional picks, and it's the money. And it is not, would the Titans be willing to pay $20 million for an elite player? Yes. They would be willing to pay $20 million if they could get Stephon Diggs. But it's
that's obvious.
Are you willing to pay $20 million for Jerry Jeudy? Are you willing to pay, $20 million and a first-round pick and something else for Amon-Ra St. Brown? And that's, when the caller says, what they have to give up, that's not the problem that I felt like the Titans were dealing with. 615-737-1025. Back to your phones. But Eddie George said something yesterday on the Eddie George show that I kind of already knew. Maybe I'm hoping isn't true. But even for Eddie to say it was kind of alarming. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Be sure to follow us on Instagram as we have a new Instagram. You should be sure to follow us at 102.5 The Game Nashville on Instagram. So be excited for that. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is Phil Tomasino, and this is Smashville.
Cousins put it in front of the score. Tomasino lofts it in. 2-0 Nashville.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
People of all ages can experience spine pain. What hurts the most is what it does to your life, making simple activities feel like an uphill battle. Houston Clinic Orthopedics and their team of specialists aim to get you back to your active and enjoyable life. Let Houston Clinic Orthopedics bring lasting relief if you're suffering from any of the following: spinal stenosis, herniated discs, sciatica, degenerative disc disease, and more. To experience world-class orthopedic care, visit tn.houston.com, where experience matters.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Hey, it's Joe Rexford for FanDuel Sportsbook. Folks, this is the perfect time as now to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. All you have to do is sign up with promo code Joe102. FanDuel, of course, has all your favorite bets, your traditional money line, point spreads, player props. You can combine them for a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. If I were looking, for example, at Titans-Chiefs, one part of my parlay would be the under. The Titans are really good on defense, but they're also really struggling on offense. That'd be one of my parts of a parlay. You do whatever you want. Just do it on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. Sign up with promo code Joe102 for that no-sweat first bet. Again, promo code Joe102. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbet.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Eddie George. You know we all have crazy busy lives and don't take time to research car insurance, right? Well, you don't have to. Xander Insurance does all the work for you. Their system shops over 15 top companies to find you the best rates, and they keep shopping every year. Their clients have saved an average of $600. That's why I'm a client. Xander gives me more options. More options means more savings. Get free quotes at XanderInsurance.com or call 800-356-1780.
Need assistance with door and window projects? The Home Depot can help. From inspiration and materials to ordering and installation, our free millwork virtual apron service can get you moving and doing. Plus, we speak Spanish too. Our associates can help you tackle complex jobs without you leaving the job site, saving you time and money. Call us at 1-833-HD-APRON or visit homedepot.com/MVA. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Jonathan Hutton.
You have to put the ball in his hands in that moment.
And Chad Withrow.
My kicker's making no decisions on a football team.
Are in the game. Join them for NFL postgame after every Titans home game, live from Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on Broadway. They'll break down that day's game and look ahead to the next one. NFL postgame is presented by Two Rivers Ford, Renter's Warehouse, and Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Offensively, can you guys afford to be as one-dimensional as you had to be yesterday going forward?
We'll see.
Can you guys afford to be as one-dimensional offensively?
We'll see.
No. No. The 10 passes? No. They cannot go to Kansas City on Sunday night. And I do like Chris Harris, who asked the question from Channel 4. They cannot go to Kansas City, Chris, on Sunday Night Football, which happens to be on Channel 4. Giving Chris a little shout-out for Channel 4 right there.
Out
there
Channel
you go.
4.
Channel 4. Gonna have the game. No, they can't be one-dimensional. They cannot do that. And not only am I saying that, but Eddie George yesterday on the Eddie George Show. Eddie knows his role. He is the most legendary Titan, period. He's not the most legendary Titan Oiler. They've got Earl Campbell and Warren Moon and, some of these other guys. But as far as the Titans, Eddie is the most, influential former player because, as we all know, Steve McNair is no longer with us. So Eddie's the guy. If Eddie says it, it's a big deal. Well, Eddie understands this. And Eddie has usually been pretty rah-rah over the years, or supportive, I think is probably the right word, of what the Titans are trying to do, backing, Mariota, publicly, whatever. On the Eddie George Show last night, Eddie George said, and this is why I'm disappointed the Titans didn't try to make a trade. Eddie George was talking about the Titans offense, and even Eddie says, hey, what's going on right now? Let's be real. Is this going to work against Kansas City and Buffalo?
You can argue and say, well, what happens when they step outside the footprint of the AFC South? Will that translate?
That.
And the answer to that is probably not. I mean, when you're playing against the Philadelphia, when you're going up against the Kansas City, when you're playing those teams, the Buffalo Bills that can score, you have to have an offense that can match point for point. And that's kind of where we are with that.
I mean, Eddie's telling you right now that this idea, this is the kind of stuff of why they have to make a trade. Because last year, could they match with Buffalo and Kansas City? They did. And you know who played great when they played them? A.J. Brown. And you traded A.J. Brown away, regardless of whether or not that was the right or wrong decision at the time, which I voted for it to be the right decision. It looks like it's the wrong decision. But that's the decision that you made. Well, now you're about to play Kansas City. Can you go match Kansas City? Eddie says no. When Eddie said that yesterday, I was like, man, I mean, if they've lost Eddie.
I don't think they've lost Eddie. But
you think Eddie thinks they can go to Kansas City and win on Sunday?
That's two different things.
That's what I mean by they've lost. I mean, like, Eddie's never going to not support the Titans.
No,
or whatever.
but I think he understands what we all see with our own two eyes, is that the Titans can beat the crummy, crappy Colts and Texans and Commanders by running the football and playing good defense. But really, how far does that get you?
Hey, Commanders have won 3 in a row.
Excuse me, the crummy, crappy Colts and Texans. I'll leave the Commanders out of this discussion. But the Commanders have won 3 in a row because who's their quarterback?
Well, Wentz won the first one against Chicago.
Okay.
But
against the crummy, crappy Bears.
But at the same
Taylor
time.
Heinicke's balling out.
Taylor Heinicke's playing, okay.
But I think that, are you surprised that Eddie thinks that?
I'm surprised Eddie said it.
That's a different thing.
I mean,
that's a completely different story.
No, because it's obvious.
Because we all see it with our own two eyes.
But they won't do anything about
the Texans.
But they didn't do anything about it.
And I think that's for a few different reasons. It's either, one, they want to save the picks for next year. 2, they tried and they just couldn't do it. That it was a first-round pick for players that really aren't worthy of a first-round pick.
Even when T.J. Hawkinson, nobody went for a first-round pick except for Bradley Chubb. Everybody else was.
But I'm not. But
Roquan Smith's a great player.
But maybe the Titans called about certain players, maybe a Jerry Jeudy, a DJ Moore, and they wanted first-round picks, and the Titans just weren't willing to deal that. I don't know what the Titans did or didn't do. Maybe they didn't call a single soul. Or they view it as, We just need Traylon Burks to get back and get healthy, and we think that we can get this offense back on track. Do I agree with that notion? Probably not, no, but they probably do.
No, Vrabel can't think they're a Traylon Burks away.
A Traylon Burks away from maybe not being the worst offense in the NFL? I don't think that's the craziest thing to think. A Traylon Burks away from competing for a Super Bowl? No. A Traylon Burks away from being better than the Carolina Panthers offensively? Probably.
Hey, P.J. Walker, they're lightening up the scoreboard right now. I mean, they go to their third-string quarterback. They score 40 points or whatever it was against the Falcons and lose in overtime. You go to your backup quarterback, he can't throw to a wide-open receiver. I mean, it's hard not to be down on the Titans right now. For a 5-2 team that's going to win their division, it is so hard. I am depressing myself talking about this team right now. I am really bummed out right now because I just think about how horrendously constructed this team is. I mean, it's like the freaking inexcusable stuff. It's like they whiff on a tackle in the draft, and then they draft another tackle, and they whiff on him. And it's like, that's inexcusable. They trade away A.J. Brown for him to go off to Philadelphia and be the best receiver in the NFL, and they get 10 catches out of their return for A.J. Brown. That's awful. They have a backup quarterback that they put out there against the Texans who misses wide open guys. Malik Willis threw the ball away on a play in which he had two guys wide open. He missed Chikakonkwo on the sideline when the safety bit on the play action fake and there was nobody there. He missed a play with Nick Westbrook-Akina where he checked the ball down to Austin Hooper, and when Westbrook-Akina turned around and saw Hooper had caught the ball, slammed his hands together in frustration because he was wide open 20 yards down the field, and Malik Willis didn't even bother to look at him. And that's the future.
But Malik Willis isn't replacing what you lost in A.J. Brown.
No, but what is
I understand that's what you got with the trade. I know.
What is the future of this organization?
It might be Malik Willis. I don't know. It might not be. If it's not, that's okay.
And that is so disappointing that what they got out of that A.J. trade is nothing. That when the Carolina Panthers play their third-string quarterback, which is what this guy is, he's out there putting up 30 points. And you know who's helping him put up 30 points? Deontay Foreman running the ball for 120 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Would you trade what the Titans have in the run game for Deontay Foreman?
I'd like to have him back. I mean, Phil Simms was on Mad Dog yesterday talking about how the Titans can't give Derrick Henry the ball 800 times and that they need Deontay Foreman back in there and that they used to have him, but they just couldn't afford him. I'm like, no, Phil. They could have afforded him. They could have afforded him, Phil Simms. Oh. And yet they're 5-2 and they're in first place. So
and that's the crazy thing. And looking at the Titans' rest of the schedule, while it was very menacing at the beginning of the season, all of those games that I thought, no way the Titans can win those. They have a legit shot.
I mean, who would you rather be, the Titans or the Packers?
I'd much rather be the Titans.
Titans, the Buccaneers.
Titans.
Titans, the Bengals.
Titans.
Titans, the Rams.
Titans.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm so down right now, but at the same time,
the whole league is pretty bad, with the exception of the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, I promised phones, and then I didn't get to them because I wanted to go on that Eddie thing. I couldn't believe Eddie said it. We'll get to that. We'll get to your phones. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And let me say this, because I know there's a percentage of the text line that thinks that I'm some Malik hater. I promise I'm not. The film on Malik.
It's not great.
It was horrible. I mean, horrible. Underline, horrible. It is worse than it looked on TV. It is markedly worse than it is on TV, including one where Malik took a sack, held the ball, pump faked it, took a sack in the pocket. Adam Archuleta said on TV that there was nothing open downfield. He was wrong.
And I took his word for it because I couldn't see the receivers downfield.
But then when you saw the receivers down the field?
Too wide open.
Wide open. Unbelievable. And it, again, 12 dropbacks, 2 good throws or decisions, 2 that, not applicable, not a bad, not a good, 8 bad from Malik on Sunday. 615-737-1025, Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106 through the game.
every Wednesday at noon.
No matter the down and distance and no matter the score, they're going to give him the football.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Chase, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
I hope that they're not throwing flags simply because the league wants to see more of them.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
They are not as good at wide receiver and the playmaking department.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon. Presented by Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars and by Edley's Barbecue on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Pope. It's a great day ahead of us. Another warm start to the day leads to a warm afternoon. Low to middle 70s for high temperatures with decreasing cloud cover. Our next rain threat does not come until the upcoming weekend.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Fall is my favorite time of the year. Colorful leaves, cool air, football, and the start of hockey season. When it comes to lassoing up my favorite adult beverages before the game, I trot on over to Red Spirits and Wine. At Red, I always find the best selection of beer, distilled spirits, hard seltzers, cigars, wines from around the world, and so much more. Red's Cracker Jack crew always provides the friendliest service and straight shooting recommendations without ever coming off like some of those patronizing whoop-de-doos you can lock horns with at some places. Red also offers a variety of delivery options like Drizzly and DoorDash. It's like in that old Ozzy Osbourne tune we sing around the campfire. If you could see inside my head, you'd see that black and white is red. Red Spirits and Wine, flying high again at Highway 70 South and Old Hickory Boulevard. And check Red out on social media and at redspirits.com.
Men, are you asking yourself questions like, why am I gaining fat? Why is my energy or sex drive down and maybe haven't been getting the exercise you need? If you want to get back to the man you used to be, but just don't have that youthful energy, that edge you once had, you very well might have low testosterone. Low T causes all kinds of issues, from a reduced libido, lower drive, and bad sleep patterns to problems with muscle gain, bone density, and more. It may even contribute to erectile dysfunction, and if this sounds like you, it's probably time to get treated for your low T. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've treated thousands of men for low T. We've seen them put on muscle, add to their energy, improve their sex lives, get better sleep, and just feel better. Plus, if you're like most men, you'll see results in only a few weeks. So make an appointment today and experience how testosterone therapy can truly change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. Call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra results vary.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Reynolds, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Craneworks, the Southeast leader for crane and equipment rental, is looking for the best in the business to fill positions as qualified operators, truck drivers, and mechanics. Craneworks provides superior customer service and a superior work environment. Start lifting Nashville to new heights and apply today at craneworks.com/careers. That's craneworks.com/careers.
Chase McCade.
You get a little fired up for that. Pads start popping.
Willie Donick.
And you're just thinking, this guy's unbelievable.
And Derek Mason.
Now I gotta run a little bit faster so I don't get hit.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Quick takes, let's get it. Titans win their fifth straight behind a 219-yard 2 TD performance from Derrick Henry. Tennessee now 2 games atop in the AFC South after that 0-2 start. RC, are we sleeping on Tennessee?
You know what? I don't necessarily believe that we're sleeping on Tennessee, but you take us back to week 1 where they're blown out, and then you start to see this team continue to creep back into the playoff hunt. Now, obviously, leading the AFC South, but this is something they've done for the last 2 years. What are they going to do when they get into the playoffs? Do they have enough play at quarterback? Can they be consistent enough defensively? And where is going to be their go-to player outside of Derrick Henry? I believe this team is good, but much like we've seen in the past years, I don't believe good enough to advance in the playoffs with the likes of the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs waiting.
Ryan Clark on First Take yesterday. Where is that other guy other than Derrick Henry? I have the answer.
Philadelphia.
He is in Philadelphia. Yes, that is where he is. And we're all stuck with Todd Downing running jet sweeps for Malik Willis. That's what it is. I promised phones. 615-737-1025. What do we have?
Travis texts in and says, I'm thinking either other teams are asking too much or John Robinson is asking too little for the players that they may be targeting. Surely they know that they are boo-boo. I just don't think the Titans are one guy away from beating Kansas City or Buffalo.
Okay, let's go back to this, which is, the idea of are they one guy away? Put A.J. Brown on the Titans. Are they on par with Buffalo and Kansas City?
I have to think so, right? Because with A.J. Brown, they beat Buffalo and Kansas City. And I know that's not always apples to apples, but with the way that Tannehill is playing, better than he was playing last year, you add A.J. Brown in the passing game, you feel so much better about this offense. The defense playing like it's been playing the past few weeks, I wouldn't say that they are Buffalo. I would say they're probably closer to Kansas City.
Ian, are they on par with Buffalo and Kansas City if A.J. Brown's on this team?
I'm still going to say no.
So I think the answer is yes. Because
with Buffalo?
Yeah.
I think Buffalo's too good.
I mean, I think they were probably, Buffalo was probably better than them last year, but they did find a way to miraculously beat Buffalo at home, and who delivered in the fourth quarter?
A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown. They won that game because of A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, and Jeffrey Simmons. Why are they winning games now? Because of Derrick Henry
and Jeffrey Simmons.
And so I do. So when people say they're not one player away, I'm like, they're that player away, in my opinion. But that's part of it. The second part of it, either teams were asking for too much or Robinson was asking for too little.
Duh.
I mean, either that or Robinson
if he wasn't asking at all.
Yeah.
That's the only other option.
What does our gut tell us? Why did the Titans not make a deal? Were teams asking for too much? Were the Titans asking for too little? Or did they not even bother with the phone and they think that Treylon Burks returning will fix this 32nd ranked offense, which I hear all these people talking about, all these guys that are going to come back for the Titans. I hear, McMath is going to come back. I hear Burks is going to come back. I hear Phillips is going to come back. I hear Molden's going to come back. I hear all these guys on IR are coming back. Guess what? You only get 8 guys the whole year that can come back of IR. So as easy as it is to say, oh, they're all going to come back, the Titans really have to weigh whenever Racey McMath is ready to come back, if it's worth doing that this early in the season.
Yeah, but Treylon Burks is going to come back.
I hope so.
Kyle Phillips is going to come back. If they can, if they physically are able.
I don't think Kyle Phillips is coming back.
You don't?
Nope. I don't think they're going to use one of those 8 spots on Kyle Phillips.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, 8 spots. How many have they used? They haven't used any yet, correct?
Monty Rice.
So that's 1, and we're halfway through the season.
Although, I don't know, was Monty Rice put on IR or was he on the PUP list?
I think he was put on IR.
Okay, so they've used 1 on Monty Rice.
So you've used 1 halfway through the season.
Yes.
You'll probably use
Burks,
1 on Treylon Burks.
Molden.
3.
I mean, I need to hold some in the back in case.
Just in case, yeah.
Derrick Henry gets hurt or, whatever.
McMath, would you bring him back?
I mean, I probably would, but I'm not sure how much of a difference it will make.
With this receiver core, I think you kind of have to, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody likes Kyle Phillips more than I do, so, I mean, I don't know.
What, you think Racey McMath is that much better?
Yeah, I think they do different things. I think McMath can run.
Yes, they do different things.
And I don't, slot receiver for a team that pass. What else we got?
Andrew checks in and says, if I'm Jeffrey Simmons, I'm winning with the Titans. They are and always have been mediocre. I'm going somewhere that goes for a Super Bowl. Why waste a great career like so many Titans before him?
So I heard Derek screaming today about how the Titans, no receivers want to play for the Titans because they don't throw receivers the ball. And I'm like, it wasn't the ball that A.J. Brown wasn't happy with. It was the money. It was the money.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Simmons is going to re-sign with the Titans. Why is Jeffrey Simmons going to re-sign with the Titans? The money. The Titans, unless Jeffrey Simmons wants to, here's what would happen to Jeffrey Simmons. If Jeffrey Simmons were to say, screw this team, I'm not re-signing here. He would have to play next year on the 5th-year option, which is like $10 million. So instead of making somewhere around $30 million next year, he'll make $10 million. Now, if you gave me the option of making $30 million or $10 million, I would take the $30 million, but that's just me. So $10 million. Now, Jeffrey Simmons gets franchised. Funny thing about defensive tackle is they're not all lumped together. There is Aaron Donald at 30 and then everybody else at 20. So you're going to be paid the average of the top 5. So congratulations, Jeffrey Simmons. Here's $19 million for the next year. Then I'm going to tag you again, and then you're going to get, 120% of that. So you're going to get $25 million. So congratulations to Jeffrey Simmons. In those 3 years, you've gotten 29 plus 25. You've gotten about $50 million. Or over those 3 years, I can give you $100 million. Which would you rather have?
I would rather have $100 million,
okay, there
please.
You go. He will resign. What's next?
David in Arkansas texts in, says, I'm getting restless with John Robinson. I know he brought us from the dead, but that's been years ago now, ever since his way of thinking has gone downhill. Bringing in players like Daly, who sucks. His drafting has sucked most of the time lately.
I mean, you guys got to understand something about Dennis Daly.
That wasn't like a home run move that John Robinson was trying to go out and get an elite tackle. That was just on the cheap, let's pack someone in the back of the depth chart.
I think Daly's doing a pretty good job. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, I think Dennis Daly is doing a pretty good job. I don't know what you all have as far as expectations for left tackles that are backups are concerned when they go up against Montez Sweat and Yannick Ngakoue and all those guys. But think about the pass rushers that they've been playing with him at left tackle. Because he gets thrown in there in the second game. So third game of the year, Chandler Jones. Last time I checked, he's pretty good. Did Chandler Jones wreck the game against the Raiders? Nope. Next game, Colts. Yannick Ngakoue. Now, the Colts move everybody around, and at times he'll have DeForest Buckner or Grover Stewart, but all those guys are pretty good. And did any of those guys wreck the game? No.
Well, Joey Bosa didn't wreck the game when the Titans played the 49ers last year, and that wasn't because of Dylan Radins.
I know, but if Dennis Daly played 5 times, do you think that Joey Bosa, if it was 5 games against him, do you think that he would have wrecked the game?
Probably.
And that's the point. Now, Montez Sweat, he came pretty close to wrecking the game. That's because Montez Sweat's really good. It reminds me, and I bring this up all the time because I think, context is important when we're talking about a backup tackle, which is the Titans a couple years ago in a clear passing situation against the Browns, down by a bunch, had David Quessenberry, their backup left tackle, singled up with Myles Garrett, and Tannehill got sacked. And I watched the whole thing. I watched Myles Garrett run right around Quessenberry and go sack Tannehill, and I literally saw Quessenberry turned around to watch the sack happen, and I felt bad for the guy because I was like, what's he supposed to do here? So with Daly, I think Daly's actually playing okay. I really do. The one before the half against the Colts, he gave up a sack on Ngakoue. But, again, every game Dennis Daly has started, the Titans have won. And I really don't think – I don't think that Dennis Daly was by any stretch of the imagination the biggest problem they had on the line on Sunday. And I don't think Dennis Daly is the biggest problem they have on the line, period. I think Daly's fine. I think that Dennis Daly is a plus move for John Robinson, not a minus move for John Robinson. Now, the other things at tackle, I think those are bad. But I think Dennis Daly, I like Daly. I think Daly's a solid swing backup.
But is that rooted in expectation or actual execution?
Well, probably a little bit of both. I think Dennis Daly's played okay. I really do. Like, unless you guys want Dennis Daly to not give up a sack ever, then I guess he's playing poorly. But as far as like actual line play, I told you, I don't think Daly's the biggest problem in that offensive line.
No, I think that offensive line has a lot of problems.
I think Brewer is the biggest problem on that offensive line. And Brewer's not getting any better because he's 280 pounds. But not going to hold. Now, the Robinson thing about the draft picks and to me, the biggest indictment of Robinson right now is Caleb Farley. Because everybody was like, no, don't do that. It's like, no. Trust us. We know.
This injured corner who hasn't played football in 2 years.
You didn't know. No, trust us. We know. Okay, we trusted you. You didn't know. 615-737-1025. And that's one thing that really can't continue is the Titans can't constantly be going off and finding these nobodies off of practice squads like Terrence Mitchell, finding these guys and bringing them in here and then be better than first-round picks. Like, that's just not allowed. Like, that just shouldn't happen. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Phil Simms asked about if the Titans are for real. Phil Simms has a major concern. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You watch the game.
Sliding across, making the stop, UC Sarah.
We talk the game.
That wraparound goal by Sanford was a beaut.
Tanner Janot, Ryan Johansson gets on the board.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Attention sportsmen. This November 8th, hunting is on the ballot. The Biden administration continues to close millions of acres of public land to hunting, and now D.C. liberals are banning common ammunition. Joe Biden and the enablers pulling his strings won't stop until you're only allowed to hunt in your backyard with a slingshot. On November 8th, it's critical for Tennessee sportsmen and women to go hunting with their votes and elect Andy Ogles to Congress. We need a congressman who will stand up to the liberal left and fight for the rights of Tennessee hunters and gun owners. Andy Ogles will be a champion for the rights of Tennessee sportsmen and women. Andy Ogles will protect hunting access, our Second Amendment rights, and our hunting heritage. Vote Andy Ogles for Congress, November 8th. Hunter Action Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. 4800 Westgate Pass Road, Tucson, Arizona, 85745.
Genesis is actually a new beginning.
Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon talking about why it's called Genesis.
I love the symbolism of the name. It's a new beginning.
Boaz wanted the name of his company to mean something, to reflect his core values and the importance of starting relationships for people in love, as well as the relationship he wants with each and every customer.
It's a new beginning in their life for the relationship between us, the jeweler, the Genesis Diamond, and the customer, and it should last forever. Everything we do is for the customer.
Walk into Genesis and you can feel it. Genuine people who are solely focused on celebrating the best moments of your life.
It's not only my passion, it's my culture. Genesis is the book where God created the world, the day and night, the man and the woman. Every diamond engagement ring that we specially created for the customer is a new beginning for amazing, lasting relationship.
Come start your amazing, lasting relationship today at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Vanderbilt fans, your flagship home for the broadcast of football and men's basketball is 93.3 Classic Hits. For the weekly Commodore Hour show featuring head coach Clark Lee, tune in to 94.9 The Fan on Monday nights at 6 p.m.
Hey Nashville, TJ Anderson here. With real estate listings, you have to read between the lines. Like breathtaking means yikes. Fixer-upper, it was definitely on an episode of Hoarders. And close to everything? Well, I hope you like the sound of trains. My team at TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty is ready to help both home buyers and sellers decode the market. Oh, and if the house is charming, it's probably ugly, but has a great personality. Google TJ Anderson Homes, read our reviews, and see why we are referred for a reason. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, 615-432-2919.
312 Pizza Company is the official sponsor and location of Southeastern Carolines with Caroline Fenton.
Dr. Travis Stork here to tell you about a great pain reliever called Salon Pass Pain Relieving Patches. Salon Pass is pain medicine in a patch. You stick it right on sore muscles for up to 8 hours. Clinical research has shown that people that used Salon Pass reported less pain with improvement in mood, sleep, and the ability to work. Safe, effective relief is one peel and place away. Salon Pass, it's good medicine.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, your Nashville Predators start a 5-game road trip against the Edmonton Oilers. Coverage begins at 7. We are your home for Smashville. WPRT-FM Pegram, WBUC HD2 Laverne, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the offices of Amanda J. Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Trevor Maddich in less than 30 minutes. Big football game this weekend between the two biggest games of the week, in my opinion, in football. Tennessee, Georgia, Titans, Chiefs. What a great week. So Phil Simms was on with Mad Dog Russo on Mad Dog Radio, And Mad Dog was going through, all the teams at the top and kind of where they fit and everything else. And Mad Dog asked Phil Simms about the Titans. And I was listening to this yesterday, and I kind of perked up, and I was like, ooh, I wonder what Phil Simms thinks of the Titans. Here's what Phil said.
What's your take on how good the Titans might be? I guess we'll get a little feel Sunday night when they go to Kansas City, correct?
Well, yes. The thing that bothers me about the Tennessee Titans, I love who they are. I like Mike Vrabel, how he just can communicate with his players and how he's all about connecting with them. And it's really worked for him. But their margin of error, Chris, is so slim because of their style of play. And, they're going to run the ball. I'll say this. I think it off the top of my head. Derrick Henry has touched the ball in the last 3 games over 90 times. You know what? You cannot sustain that.
Not for 17 weeks. Good points, Phil.
No.
Yeah, can't do that.
I saw it 2 years ago. He was on fire. And they went to the championship game, and then we were there. And I remember going, he's not the same guy. It was just too much. They were riding him, and I understand that. But it wasn't the same, and there's no way. 219 yards yesterday, I think he got. So there's just no way you can keep this pace up when you're a physical, big running back like him, 17 or 15 or even 12 weeks a year like we saw yesterday. I don't think you can keep that up. They got to get the load to somebody else. Ryan Tannehill, they got to get him back in the lineup, and he's been playing really well, so he gives them, of course, a much better chance than a rookie quarterback.
There you go. That was what Phil Simms said. So clearly Phil Simms, asked if the Titans are good, just went off on how, they can't give Derrick Henry the ball this much. What do we think of that? Do we agree with Phil? Do we disagree with Phil?
Well, I hear that argument all the time, that Derrick Henry's workload is unsustainable, that the style of this offense is unsustainable. And when you just look at the sheer number of times that Derrick Henry touches the football, you would probably think the same thing, but it keeps working. And maybe it doesn't work when you are put up against the Chiefs and the Buffaloes of the AFC. But this offense doesn't work without Derrick Henry getting the ball 25 times a game. Derrick Henry is the type of running back that only gets better the more you feed him the ball. So, yeah, while it may look unsustainable, I feel like we've been hearing that argument a whole lot about Derrick Henry, yet he keeps getting the ball and he keeps getting better. I mean, throughout this season, I don't think it's a linear every single game he's gotten better, but it has throughout the season. He's looked better throughout the season. He's put up more yards throughout the season the more and more he gets the ball.
And the offensive line is so independent of Derrick Henry. I mean, every time Derrick Henry's like, I couldn't do it without these guys, and yet all these guys either leave.
That's just the kind of guy that Derrick Henry is.
In there, and it doesn't matter how bad they suck, and he still runs the ball great.
I don't think you can run for 200 yards and not at least give the offensive line a little bit of credit.
Sure. I mean, Michael Jordan, can't win all these championships without all these guys. It's just they can get rid of those guys and bring in Luke Longley, and it's fine. Well,
that's what makes Derrick Henry Michael Jordan and not just one of those guys.
Right. So I half agree with Phil, and I half disagree. First off, I think the answer, without Phil saying it, is no. He doesn't think the Titans, when are the Titans good, Phil? What do we make of them? And then he goes off on how they can't sustain this handing the ball to Derrick Henry. I think that's a long-winded way of saying no.
I think the answer is they're good doing this, but how long can they do this?
So here's where I'm a little torn. First off, he referenced the AFC Championship game. I think he's wrong. I mean, Derrick Henry had 62 yards at halftime of that AFC Championship game. He finished with 69 because the defense fell apart and Patrick Mahomes went crazy. So, I mean, again, Derrick had 62 yards.
What does Derrick running for 7 yards in the second half have to do with the defense?
Because the Titans have to throw.
Oh, yeah.
Defense falls apart. They're down.
You're forced to throw the ball.
The Titans were up 17-7 in the AFC Championship game. I remember it like it was yesterday. The press box in Kansas City is truly up there with Jesus. And I remember because I didn't have a seat, they gave seats. So if you were a radio, they didn't give you a seat that could see the field. So you'd have to sit in the back and watch on TV. Well, we didn't want to do that. So Floyd had a seat and Chase had a seat, but I was standing above Corey Curtis. And I was basically right there in Corey Curtis's ear the whole time. I hate being up in the press box because I can't say, they throw a pass. I'm you know, like, and I just, you know, I can't do that in the press box. So I'm sitting there, whatever, and we're watching it, and they throw a touchdown pass to Dennis Kelly to go up 17-7. And I remember I turned over because Floyd was like maybe 5 chairs down. And I turn over and I look at him. I just have my tongue out. I'm like, oh, my God. Like, they're up 17-7 this AFC Championship game. And Floyd looks at me and just goes, silence, and, like, points at the stadium. And this just raucous, wild AFC Championship crowd, it's just nothing. And from that moment on, I was like, they've got to get a stop on this drive. Like, if they get a stop here and they make it 24-7 or they make it 20-7, you know, now Kansas City's in trouble.
Right.
Because they know the big dog's going to run the ball in the second half. They're up 20-7. And he's only just ran the Patriots and the Ravens out of the playoffs. So, like, they know. But Mahomes, you know, touchdown. Then the Titans give the ball back. Then touchdown. And that unbelievable run he had before the half. And then Andy Reid took the ball out took the air out of the ball in the second half, ran the ball. Because he didn't want Derrick Henry to get going in that second half. So when, you know, Frank Clark and all those guys are celebrating after the game, we stopped Derrick Henry. Yeah. I'm like, did you? He had 62 yards and a touchdown at halftime. Patrick Mahomes just changed the style of the game. That being said, Derrick got hurt last year. You know, as much as we can say, you know, hey, this guy, they can give him the ball and he can do whatever and he's the best and Derrick got hurt last year. I don't know if it's because of the turf in Indianapolis, which, by the way, the Titans do play games on turf, or if it's because a stress reaction was from so much stress on that foot from getting the ball so many times. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. And then I think about the last 2 playoffs. And I think about the fact that in the last 2 playoffs, and again, I'm not counting the Kansas City game where he had 69. Because, again, I think Derrick was running the ball great in the first half, and the game changed. Like, the game dictates how you have to play, and the game changed because of Mahomes. But the Ravens game, he didn't do anything. The Bengals game, he didn't do anything.
It was also his first game back from injury.
I know. But that's, you know, when we're talking about relying on, you know, whatever, the reality is, in hindsight, Foreman was running the ball at that point better than him. Mm-hmm. And remember the whole, should he play the Texan game to get kind of into it, to be ready to go in the playoffs? And, you know, they decided to be cautious with it. And Derrick didn't look right in that playoff game.
He didn't look 100%, no.
So, to the point of Sims, I don't know if I can trust that Derrick will be able to do this. When last year, they did it, and we were like, how much can they do this? Broken foot. You know, that I do think about. So I'm a little torn.
And that's hard, too, because it would be easy to say that the Titans couldn't do this if Derrick Henry broke his foot and came back this year and just really didn't look the same. But does he really look that much further behind this year than he was in the past?
So I definitely think he is behind where he was in the past. I am convinced of it. And there was one play, it was the second play of the game against the Texans, that tells me that Derrick is not as good as he used to be. And that is because he got caught from behind. You know, when Derrick Henry gets running, right, the only other time I think he got caught from behind was he got caught from behind by Marcus Peters in the Ravens playoff game. And this was the first Ravens playoff game, the one in Baltimore that they won. And he had dealt with a hamstring injury that year, and it had to take off week 16 because of it. And he was healed, but Marcus Peters caught him from behind, and it was like, oh, that hamstring's probably still bothering him because Marcus Peters caught him.
Right.
But for somebody to catch him on the second play of the game from behind, I saw that, and I was like, Derrick doesn't get caught from behind. Like, once he's out pumping, he can run as fast as anybody in the league. So I think he's a step behind what he used to be. I do kind of agree with Phil Simms, though. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Tennessee versus Georgia. Gary Danielson yesterday brought up 2 very, very interesting possibilities. First and foremost, I do believe there's a chance Tennessee's going to be number 1 when the college football playoff poll comes out.
I would agree.
I'm also not sure how much I care about that because we're going to decide on the field. on Saturday who number one is. But the possibilities are fascinating. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. I'm going to give away the second clue now. I told you these are the clues for the Tennessee-Colorado basketball tickets. Don't call now. We already gave away the first clue earlier, and in the 5 o'clock hour, you'll have to call Ian with the answers to these questions. And the first person to call Ian in the 5 o'clock hour, when we ask you to do this and you give Ian these answers, you will get a pair of tickets to see the Vols at Bridgestone Arena against the Colorado Buffalo. So let me say this. The first was about Tennessee being number one in basketball. They were number one in basketball in 2019. But they only made it to the Sweet 16. Who did they lose to in the 2019 Sweet 16 when Tennessee was number one in the country? The answer is Purdue. Good luck when we ask you for those two teams. Won't tell you the first team, we already told you, but the clue for the second team is Purdue. So there's two teams that you've got to give to Ian. And with that, Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
He looks like 1,000 quarterbacks I've seen in a college game.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
The coaching staff kept him and got rid of the other guy.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
If he's so great in the locker room, then give him a coaching gig.
Chad Withrow is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order your new Ford from Two Rivers Ford on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The final matchup of the Tennessee basketball team's 3-game series with Colorado is coming to Nashville. Don't miss the Tennessee Volunteers versus the Colorado Buffaloes at Bridgestone Arena Sunday, November 13th. Be there to witness your Volunteers in action as they look to run their all-time record against Colorado to 5-0. Sunday, November 13th, Bridgestone Arena. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Presented by Red Cap.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Need cash for the holidays or to pay off credit cards right now? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. This is great. You can keep your low mortgage rate and still get cash out. That's right. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low rate. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will come your way, and it only costs you around $300 a month. Use that money to pay off whatever bills you have. Credit cards, consolidate other debt, or start a home improvement project. With Loan Pronto, you can access up to 95% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need the appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Do it now before the holidays. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, it's Hutton. Guys, do you need an annual health exam? I recommend going to Low T Center to get your complete health assessment. They will check all of your levels, not just your T level. In most cases, it's completely covered by your health insurance. And if you don't have insurance, it's less than $100 for a full lab panel and an office visit with their medical provider to give you a complete health assessment. Low T Center specializes in men's health, making it quick and easy, even verifying your insurance. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hi, this is Chef Mark again from Bob's Steak and Chop House at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Looking for the next place to hold a business dinner or just a private room for you and your guests to enjoy? Then look no further than Bob's. We believe in top quality food and service without all the distractions. So join us and experience why we've been voted Diner's Choice on Open Table for 6 years running.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Never miss a moment of the show. What is this? Check it out. Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Whoever wins this Tennessee-Georgia game, unless they get picked off by somebody, they're going to play in the National Final Four no matter what they do. I don't care if they lose to Alabama 55-0. The winner of this game is if you win one of the two, you're gonna get in. So the winner of this game is almost like it's a second SEC championship game on Saturday in Athens.
Well, I agree with you. I think it's almost, you stole my notes or looked at my notes because, this is a team that the winner of this game, I think, is in. Now, obviously they have to clean up the rest of their season, but if they get in the SEC championship game, I think it's just like a year ago. Georgia lost, and they were still in. I think that's going to happen this time, too.
Gary Danielson says the winner is in between Tennessee and Georgia, and I agree.
Oh, yeah.
The win
that seems pretty obvious, right?
Win and don't lose to South Carolina, and you're in.
Or Missouri.
Well, Georgia almost lost to Missouri. So,
yes, you never know.
But win on Saturday, and you are in.
Lose on Saturday, and you also might be in.
You need some help.
Yes, you do.
If you lose on Saturday, you still got a good chance. In fact, Gary has kind of a cockamamie theory that I want to get to in a second. But tonight, the College Football Playoff Committee will drop their first official rankings. I heard Greg McElroy talking about this today, and he said that we will learn whether or not the committee is more focused on resume or if they are more focused on the other stuff, whether
the
it's
AP poll and the
program prestige and NFL talent. And so I thought he was talking about we'll learn that with Tennessee number 1 or Georgia number 1, how they're weighing it.
That's what I would assume.
But he was talking about how they rank TCU versus Clemson. So he says that if they rank it off a resume, then TCU will be ranked ahead of Clemson. If they rank it off of the fact that it's Clemson and they got all
prestige,
these NFL players.
They've been there before.
Right. Because they don't really even have a good win. I mean, I guess Syracuse, their Wake Forest win.
Yeah.
One bad quarter against Louisville. I've never seen the defense that I saw out of the Cardinals. Way to go, guys. I've never seen that, 6 turnovers in a quarter. But I think that applies to Tennessee versus Georgia. Let me say this. If I had a vote, Tennessee would be the number 1 team for me. I don't know who's going to win on Saturday. I do think that home field advantage might be the deciding factor in this game. The fact that it is being played in Athens and everything else. But I know Tennessee fans are going to cry and moan and complain if the committee comes down and puts them number 2 tonight and has Georgia number 1. It's going to be, what kind of wins does Georgia have? They barely beat Missouri. We beat Alabama. I don't know. And I'm like, I don't care. And God forbid if they put Michigan ahead of Tennessee or if they put Ohio State ahead of Tennessee. And it'll be, oh, God, committee hates us. And they're not for Wilshire. I'm like, guys, you solve it with how you play on Saturday. If you beat Georgia on Saturday, you're in. If you beat Georgia on Saturday, you're number 1. No ifs, ands, or buts. So, I mean, I remember, because I used to work in a college town, when this thing first started, and the first committee ranking of the year came out that first time, and they had Auburn, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State all in there, and everyone was like, whoa. But I believe Auburn played Ole Miss the next week. So and after that I realized it doesn't matter. The first ranking, it doesn't matter. Trevor's going to come on later this hour. He's going to tell us it matters because he works for ESPN and they want people to watch the college football ranking show. It doesn't matter. Win on Saturday and you're in. It doesn't matter what the committee says tonight. I just want everybody out there to know that. Do you have anything to add to that?
I think Tennessee fans rightfully should be upset if Tennessee is not number 1. Why? Because if the College Football Playoff Committee wants to use these things that they use when making the rankings, quality of schedule, quality of wins, number of ranked wins. Well, Tennessee has more of that than Georgia does.
I can make the argument that they beat Oregon on a neutral field, whereas Tennessee's big win came at home.
That's true. You can make that argument. But I could also make the argument that Tennessee has more ranked wins than Georgia does on the season. Ranked
How
when
many
they played.
ranked wins does Tennessee? Ranked when
5.
they played, they don't care about that. They've said, the committee said, we do not care about what they were ranked when you played.
Well, okay. Well, then Georgia has, what is Oregon ranked now?
Like 9.
I don't know. So Oregon is 9, and then Tennessee has wins over a number 15 LSU now and a number 6 Alabama now. So you could still make that argument. I mean, I think that Tennessee should be number 1. I think that Tennessee has the better resume than Georgia. But Tennessee fans are going to be upset and say, well, what more do we have to do to be number 1?
Win!
Beat Georgia. That's what you have to do. And
it
then
doesn't matter.
That is undeniable. You undeniably will be the top team in the country if you do beat Georgia.
How do you think it shakes out?
Tonight?
Yeah.
I think Georgia's number 1.
So I think it'll be Tennessee 1, Georgia 2, Michigan 3, Ohio State 4.
I think I said on Robbie and Rexford this morning I thought Tennessee would be 1. I kind of flipped that. I do think that the playoff committee will put Georgia 1, Tennessee 2, and then Michigan 3 or Ohio State or Clemson 4 or 5, depending on where that shakes out, and then probably TCU 6.
Dude, Clemson hadn't beat anybody.
I know, but it's Clemson.
They haven't beat anybody.
Who was Ohio State beating? Penn State?
Penn State, somebody. Clemson, their best win is what? Wake Forest? Syracuse?
Yeah.
I mean, I watched Wake Forest. Louisville was down 14-13 at the half, and Louisville was up 41-14 at the end of the third quarter because Wake Forest turned the ball over 6 times in the third quarter.
Oof.
2 pick sixes.
Oof.
I mean, it was...
That is like some Jared Garantano type stuff.
I've never seen anything like it. Like, where like a real team was playing. You know, I mean, like if it's... Division II versus Ohio State, whatever. But I've never seen that. And our defense for this season has been so bad. And so to turn over the 10th ranked team in the country 6 times and, go from down a point to up 41-14 was wild.
Clemson has some fatal flaws, and they are very lucky that they play in the conference that they play in.
Well, does it make you feel any better after last week when you got all mad because I said that the Pittsburgh win meant less to me for Tennessee after I watched Louisville beat Pittsburgh, that here I am crapping all over the Wake Forest win for Clemson because of what they did against Louisville?
It doesn't.
Because I mean that Wake Forest Clemson game went to overtime, and Clemson only won because Wake played scared, and everybody was telling me Wake was a top 10 team, and we just shellacked them. And as I said last week, we're not very good. So if that's the case, well, then I really don't think. Congratulations to Clemson. You beat Syracuse at home. Whoa, way to go. Phonies. Trevor Maddich will join us. By the way, though, Gary Danielson has this cockamamie theory about if Tennessee loses to Georgia and Georgia loses to Alabama in the SEC championship game, what could happen? This was Gary Danielson on Mad Dog Radio on Sirius XM.
In a round robin, if they all beat each other, remember how Alabama lost. I mean, they had an easy drop pass by their best player, and not a chip shot field goal, but a field goal to win it, and they lose it in the last 14 seconds or 15 seconds of the game. So, and that was a game that their quarterback, Bryce Young, didn't even know if he was going to play. So is that vintage Alabama? Listen, they got to beat LSU is better, but Alabama's going to get another crack at it. Your point about Georgia is interesting, though. They're the defending national champs. If they lose, do they need a lot of help? Do they need everybody else around to have a loss? If Michigan and Ohio State keeps winning, you might make the argument that the loser of that game could still be in it as well. Remember in 2006, they didn't get in it, but there were only 2 teams. Now, if they get there undefeated, it's a tight game. I think the loser still could get in it. Okay, so it's a little different. Georgia would need more help. I think if Tennessee loses, that's a good point. I think anything could happen, including 3 teams from the SEC being in there against one other team.
Hot take. 3 SECs in the college football playoff.
If Ohio State or Michigan is undefeated, Clemson stays undefeated, TCU stays undefeated, how can you justify putting in 3 one-loss SEC teams?
So I think Gary is talking about, like if TCU and Clemson aren't undefeated. But, I mean, I don't think much of Clemson. There you go. That was Gary's take, though. Trevor Maddich will join us, ESPN college football analyst. Should Tennessee be as big of an underdog as they are on Saturday, plus how the committee will rank it today, what that will tell us doesn't mean anything. And at the very end, don't tell Trevor, though, we will do what we did when we put him on the spot and we made him tell us who was going to win between Tennessee and Alabama. He picked Tennessee, and he could not believe himself that he picked Tennessee. We will break down that next with Trevor Maddich. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. They are proud supporters of the Tennessee Volunteers. In fact, when you see field goals go through the upright, you see that Happy Hiller logo right there. It's beautiful. I love my friends at Hiller. Fall means cooler weather is coming. So make sure your family is warm in your home with this special deal from Hiller. This month, take advantage of Hiller's Happy HVAC Comfort Bundle, which includes an HVAC replacement, a germicidal UV light, an extended 10-year warranty, and you'll get a free Solo smokeless stove. Or get a free Solo stove with a new whole home generator or whole home water filtration and descaler. Plus, Hiller is offering 0 interest for up to 12 months on these purchases. Hiller's work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services Free guarantee, and I know this because I've been using Hiller at my home for years. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Vols, the Preds, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face truck today.
Every Monday at 6, it's the Eddie George Show live from 6th and Peabody.
When we hit the turf and clock in, we're locked in, and we're committed to our craft.
Each week, the former Titan and current TSU head coach will be joined by Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton.
Props to you and your staff, but also to the kids that have bought into everything you're saying.
And special guests to break down the Tigers' latest game and talk all things football. The Eddie George Show, Mondays at 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Black Friday deals are here earlier than ever at Electronic Express. Come into our convenient locations for great deals on all of your favorite brands like Samsung, GE, Microsoft, Cuisinart, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department: computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Save up to 40% with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Hall of Famer and all-time leading rusher with exciting news.
Football legend Emmitt Smith talking about all new regenerative treatments for joint pain from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics.
But did you know that you can encourage your body to actually heal itself with the help of QC Kinetics?
QC Kinetics uses biologic therapies that are natural, restorative, and long-lasting.
The body is an amazing thing. Trust me, I put mine through a lot.
Exciting new relief is here for pain from arthritis, knee pain, lower back pain, pain in your hips and shoulders.
I'm that guy. When you Google shoulder pain, my face pops up.
But you don't have to be sidelined by pain anymore. Call QC Kinetics to learn more about biologic therapies.
Don't let your joint pain keep you from doing the things you love. There's a new natural solution that patients are raving about.
QC Kinetics.
Let QC Kinetics help you improve your quality of life.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
In 1972, a Nashville family business story began when Bill and Beverly Finley founded Volunteer Hose and Gasket. 3 generations have grown the business into the local industry leader supplying just about anything to anybody, from the largest of contractors to your neighbor that mows his own yard. Over 1 million items in stock: belts, belting accessories, gaskets, gauges, hose fittings, hydraulics, industrial hoses, lubricants, sealing products, tubing, fire protection, and more. All at volunteerhose.net. If Volunteer Hose and Gasket doesn't have it, then you probably don't need it. Call them at 615-242-0461.
Jonathan Hutton.
You have to put the ball in his hands in that moment.
And Chad Withrow.
My kicker's making no decisions on a football team.
Are in the game. Join them for NFL postgame after every Titans home game, live from Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on Broadway. They'll break down that day's game and look ahead to the next one. NFL postgame is presented by Two Rivers Ford, Renter's Warehouse, and Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
College football playoff rankings coming out tonight. These will now supersede the AP rankings for what matters. And I think there's a pretty good chance Tennessee comes out number one. In fact, I told you all in the last segment, I think Tennessee will be number one. Tennessee has not been, and if it's number two, they have not been as high as number two since December of 2001. Caroline was still in diapers in December of 2001.
Are you in diapers when you're 4?
Pull-ups.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was in preschool.
in 2001. That's how long ago it's been. Game of the season. Tennessee versus Georgia. Winner to the playoff. Trevor Maddich joins us now, ESPN college football analyst presented by Twin Peaks. 29-degree drafts, wall-to-wall sports. Great place to watch a game on Saturday. And Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trev, let's start with this. The rankings are going to come out tonight. I say it doesn't matter, because it'll all be decided on the field Saturday. Do you think the committee goes Tennessee won or Georgia won tonight? What do you think? And what do you think that tells us by what the committee does today?
I think the committee, Jared, will go Tennessee 1, Georgia 2. And the reason is they'll factor in eye test and game control and things like that. And they will factor in resume. And Tennessee has the better resume. They've got wins that are better than Georgia so far, according to the AP poll. Now, the committee will see what they rank opponents. But right now, the AP is what we have to go on, and Tennessee has a win over 6 Alabama, 15 LSU. Georgia's only ranked win is over currently number 9 Oregon. So I think that because Tennessee has the best win, they are both undefeated. I think the committee will go with Tennessee number 1.
Trevor, I watch Tennessee every week, and everybody tells me that their defense is no good, and I know Bryce Young went bananas on them. But I got to be honest with you, that defense I saw this week against Kentucky, it looks like they're getting better and better every week. That looked like probably the best defense I've seen out of Tennessee since Josh Heupel has taken over as the coach. I believe that Will Levis is going to be a first-round pick. Trevor, is the Vols defense for real after what we saw? And when I say for real, I mean for real enough for them to be able to win a championship after what we saw last week against Kentucky.
Well, what we saw last week against Kentucky was a secondary that is giving up more yards than pretty much anybody else in all of college football overall in terms of yards per game allowed. They jumped all over Kentucky's wide receivers, didn't they? They were aggressive. They attacked. They did everything that Alabama's secondary did not do to their own secondary. And if that portends an improvement in that unit, then yes, they will be good enough to balance out the offense to win a championship. And in defense of Tennessee's secondary, keep this in mind too. It's not just how many yards per game you give up. It's how many yards per completion you give up. So in terms of yards per game, they're one of the worst. But yards per completion, they're in like around 30 or so, I think. So they're doing much, much better in terms of yards per completion. And that's a more important metric than yards per game because Tennessee tends to jump out so fast, so early that the other teams have to throw their game plan into the fireplace and just start to wing the ball down the field to try to keep up. So you get more yards. So the question is how many yards per play, and they're not nearly as bad by that metric.
Mm-hmm. Trevor, what did you make of Georgia on Saturday with the fact that they turned it on at the start, got a huge lead on Florida, then they turned it off, Florida came back, then they turned it right back on, and it went from 28-20 to 42-20 in the blink of an eye. What did that tell you about Georgia? What do you see with the Bulldogs on TV?
Well, it tells me that Georgia is kind of like Alabama from
recent
bored. Years in some ways. Say again, Joe?
Would you say they're bored?
I don't know that they're bored. I think that they're just in control, and so they don't have the sense of urgency for 4 full quarters. I mean, one way you can put it is that they take quarters off, but they don't really mean to do that. It's just that when you're in control of your opponent across the line of scrimmage, and when you're in control of the game, you tend to not play as if it's the final series and the game depends on this series, right? And so you could also say what you said, they're bored. Well, see, to me, that's a worry. That's a big worry because if you don't have a habit of keeping the hammer down at all times, then that habit's hard to break when you need to have the hammer down at all times. Having said that, well, the reason I bring up Alabama from years past is that we used to talk about how Alabama's defense was like an anaconda. They would just wrap around you and just slowly start to squeeze you, and that little goat that's in there, or whatever the prey is, thinks they have a chance. So they're fighting, and they think they can maybe get out of this, but they never had a chance at all. And Georgia's kind of like that. Teams think they have a chance at times during the game, but then Georgia just puts the squeeze on them.
Trevor, what do we make of Josh Heupel and this offense at Tennessee? Because last week I compared him to Steve Spurrier. I think he's the next Steve Spurrier of the SEC. And when I look at the Tennessee offense right now, I almost see shades of the fun and gun that Spurrier brought to the SEC in the 90s, specifically when he won a Heisman Trophy and a national title with Danny Werfel and Rydell Anthony and Jaquez Green and Ike Hilliard and those guys. And I watch Tennessee, and Tennessee fans get mad at me because I look at Jalen Hyatt and I'm like, if Jalen Hyatt wasn't out there, Josh Heupel would just put another receiver that can run, and he'd do the same things because every touchdown Jalen Hyatt scores, no disrespect to him, he is so wide open, there is nobody on the TV shot. It's all green grass and Jalen Hyatt just running down the sidelines. It's something about this coach and quarterback where they're scheming everybody up. You know Kentucky watched the Alabama game. You know they know, hey, they're going to try to isolate Jalen Hyatt, get him wide open for touchdowns, and they still did it on Saturday on the first drive. What do we make of what that means about Heupel's ability as an offensive coach?
His scheme, Jared, is perfectly suited to take advantage of college players on defense. College players on defense tend to have a lapse once in a while, not just an attention, but it just takes them an extra beat sometimes to identify what they're seeing in front of them. And that extra beat is fully vulnerable to what Josh Heupel wants to do. I mean, they've got, I think, 10 different receivers on this team, between receivers, running backs, et cetera, that are averaging 10 or more yards per catch. And Jalen Hyatt's averaging over 20 yards per catch. But they can spread it around. Just Hyatt's been the one that's been really getting all the love recently. But when you look at Spurrier back in the day, he would send guys deep, 3 verticals, 4 verticals. He'd just go deep and just keep on throwing it deep down the field because it's hard to cover all those guys. So I went back and looked at the tape of Alabama, Tennessee. And what I noticed about Hyatt getting behind that Alabama defense was 2 things. First, Heupel put him in position to be vertical against the safety. And that's just an advantage to Tennessee. But the other thing was that taking advantage of that momentary lapse, that moment where the defense is trying to figure out what their assignment is. So tempo's part of that. You get up to the line very quickly. The defense is signaled in from the sideline. Now they see the formation. Now there's a motion across, or there's a shift of some sort. And then the ball snapped while the defender is still thinking, okay, now who do I have here? Am I sure about that? And it takes them maybe a second to get that locked in. But during that time, Jalen Hyatt was sprinting down the field, while the safety, who was 10 yards deep, was standing there flat-footed trying to diagnose what was happening. And in that 1 or 2 seconds that it took after the snap for the safety to figure out what was happening, Hyatt was already at full speed, and it was already too late. So this is part of the genius of the Josh Heupel offense, that when you go up-tempo and then pre-snap you move people around, if that defense has just a minor hesitation just for a moment, he's got guys that are already just raging off the ball to get deep on you, and it's too late.
So with that, who's the better team, Tennessee or Georgia? We will ask Trevor Maddich that next. Trevor Maddich is with us, presented by Twin Peaks and by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. And we'll get into this game. How much does home field matter? And, of course, what about Hendon Hooker's Heisman chances? All that with Trevor next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Maddich joins Stillman & Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center, Look for another mainly clear night as we head through the overnight hours. Temperatures will drop back to the low 50s. Another day with highs in the low to mid 70s. Plenty of sunshine expected throughout Wednesday afternoon. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, it's Eddie George. You know we all have crazy busy lives and don't take time to research car insurance, right? Well, you don't have to. Xander Insurance does all the work for you. Their system shops over 15 top companies to find you the best rates, and they keep shopping every year. Their clients have saved an average of $600. That's why I'm a client. Xander gives me more options. More options means more savings. Get free quotes at xanderinsurance.com or call 800-356-1780.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win if you sign up with the promo code JGM. FanDuel has all of your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props, and you can combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. Get paid and get your winnings fast. All in an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. Derrick Henry versus the Chiefs. Intriguing matchup. So sign up today with the promo code JGM for your no-sweat first bet. That's promo code JGM. And make every moment more this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only, and your refund is issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions do apply. Please see terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Please call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Hutton. Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments. So the first payment is not until spring of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
When joint pains cause you to sit out on everyday activities, it's time to make an appointment with Dr. Matthew Beal at Houston Clinic Orthopedics. Dr. Beal can diagnose your problem and treat the joint pain for both surgical and non-surgical matters. Board certified and fellowship trained, Dr. Beal specializes in hip, knee, joint replacement, and adult joint reconstruction. Visit tn.houston.com to learn more about Dr. Beal and to book an appointment online. Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Informative.
They played a lot of power play time together back in the day.
Insightful.
It's a great addition to this team.
And just three guys being dudes.
On the sideline in shorts and a t-shirt. Hanging out, watching the game.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
No such thing as bad press.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, the biggest college football game of the year is this Saturday, Tennessee and Georgia. Trevor Maddich is with us, college football analyst, presented by Twin Peaks and by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. So, Trev, let's say I was a college football coach, and I called you up and I said, Trev, you've watched all the tape. You know all these teams. Who's the better team, in your opinion? Tennessee or Georgia?
Yep, Georgia is the better team. And let's just break it down. On offense, Tennessee's offense is just absolutely electrifying. But it does depend in some ways on being able to get the ball deep. And they've got the personnel to do it, but the defense of Georgia has the personnel back there to slow them down. We'll talk about that in a minute. And so I think it's kind of a fair fight. Tennessee will score points. Tennessee will make big plays. But the offense of Georgia, one of the best offensive lines in the country, solid running game. Stetson Bennett doesn't get enough credit. He's not Hendon Hooker, but he's very, very good. And the two tight ends of Georgia, Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington, nobody can cover them. Nobody really in college football can cover those guys. In the NFL, very few people will be able to cover them. And so the matchups there also favor Georgia, like some matchups favor Tennessee. Offenses I would call a wash. I think Tennessee's defense has improved, but Georgia's defense is better, especially in the secondary. When we talk about Tennessee is 28th in yards per completion, Georgia I think is number 4 in yards per completion allowed, even though they're last in the SEC in sacks right now. They don't get to the quarterback a whole lot. And Nolan Smith, by the way, who's one of their best pass rushers, linebacker, is out for the rest of the season with a pec injury. So even with that, the secondary of Georgia is the strength of this entire team other than the tight ends. And they've got a bunch of guys that will be in the NFL eventually, including both safeties. Chris Smith is a senior. He'll be in the NFL next year. Malachi Starks is a freshman. He'll be in the NFL down the road. They've got two cover corners that can shut down, and they're very good at playing the zone. They've got plenty of experience working together, and they don't tend to make as many mistakes mentally that cause them to hesitate just a beat before they get to their assignment like Alabama did when Tennessee torched them a couple of weeks ago. Now, the tempo of Tennessee is something Georgia has not yet faced. So their secondary will be put to the test. But if you're asking me which team is the better team, I think the Georgia secondary is the biggest differentiator between these two squads. That and the fact that Jalen Carter, defensive lineman for Georgia, may be the first pick in the draft. He missed a few games due to injury, but he is just devastating. And Tennessee has got a good group of D linemen that have really stepped up and performed better as the year's gone on, but nobody who's an individual disruptive wrecking ball like Jalen Carter. And I think that's where the difference lies.
So if they scored 52, Tennessee did on Alabama, what can Kirby realistically expect his defense to do that would be so much better? And how many points do you think he has to go into this game thinking we're going to give Tennessee X amount of points, just not 52? How many of them do you think he expects after what they did to Alabama?
You know, I would guess that he'd have to expect to score at least 45 in order to win this game, and maybe more. You're talking about Kirby now, or you're talking about Heupel?
Kirby. So what is Kirby thinking like he is fair to ask of his defense? Is 35 points fair to ask of his defense? Is 30 points fair to ask of his defense? And then, because I think the real question is, what does he got to ask of Stetson Bennett? Because I don't know if Stetson Bennett can score 45 points, on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that Kirby would think that if his defense held Tennessee to 30 points, he's going to win the game. And I think that's fair, because I think there's just too many matchup advantages for Georgia's offense against the Volunteer defense. And so, Georgia's defense is holding opponents to under a touchdown a game, I think, on average. I mean, they're crushing everybody on the scoreboard, and they'll slow Tennessee down. The question is how much. And so I think 30 points from the Volunteer offense would be enough for Georgia to be able to supersede that. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee actually scored in the 20s.
Really?
Yeah. And it's nothing against Tennessee. It's just that Tennessee has feasted on those long plays, just 60-yard touchdown passes. Mm-hmm. Their running game has been effective in moving the chains, which is an important part of that, because play action matters. Sometimes that momentary hesitation from safeties is because they see play action and they look at it for a beat too long, and then Hyatt or one of the other receivers is by him. So the running game of Tennessee is important that way. It'll be harder to establish the run against this Georgia front.
So
but the thing about the Georgia secondary, especially the safeties, is that I don't think they'll give up those long passes at nearly the rate that Alabama did and other teams do. And that means that Tennessee will have to be more efficient driving the ball down the field, exposes them to more mistakes.
Trevor Matich is with us. So you think that Georgia's defense is 30 points better than Alabama's defense?
No, I don't know this. 30 points. Yeah, it depends on the game. Alabama gave up 49 points with the help of from the other side of the ball. Overall, they gave up 49 against Tennessee. But that's not Alabama's defense. They're much better than that. As a matter of fact, if you watch how Alabama played the next week against Mississippi State doesn't tend to throw deep as much as Tennessee, but they can throw deep, and they tried to. They've got the scheme, they've got the players, and Alabama wasn't having it. The Alabama secondary played kind of scared and soft on the Tennessee receivers after a while, whereas Alabama attacked and played tight against Mississippi State's receivers. And I think if they played that game again, Tennessee would still have a fair chance of winning it, but no way they'd put up, 50 points.
Trevor Matich is with us. How much do you think home field matters in this game for Georgia's sake?
For Georgia's sake, it matters a lot. And the reason is communication, especially communication for the snap count. If the offensive line, as you know, can hear the snap count. They can fire off the ball. Georgia will be able to hear the snap count. They'll be able to take a good pass set right off the snap. If you can't hear it, you've got to look in at the ball if you're a tackle on the edge. And when the ball moves, then you've got to move your eyes back to your defender who's usually outside of you, and you've got to move. And that usually puts you behind, both firing off the ball and pass sets. And I think that'll matter in this game, especially because of the long passes that Tennessee's reliant on. And if the tackles can't hear the snap count, and if those edge rushers can get an extra jump, it might limit the time that Hooker will have in the pocket.
Do you think Stetson Bennett is good enough if this thing turns into a shootout to go toe-for-toe with Hendon Hooker?
Hendon Hooker is a better quarterback, more physically capable than Stetson Bennett. But Bennett is making plays. And he has, last year when he didn't get much credit for it, he's doing it again this year. And he's not the physical specimen. I think Kirk Herbstreit said it best. Stetson Bennett doesn't get respect a lot because he looks like he's a kicker in his uniform, right? Whereas Hooker looks like a big pass rushing outside linebacker in his uniform who can throw. And so, but when you look at what you have to do in order to help your team win, Bennett can do everything that they need him to do, which is maximize play action, move the chains when it's 3rd and 6, make the right decisions to enable everybody else. It's the same thing that Hendon Hooker does, but Hendon Hooker just has a stronger arm and the ability to drive the ball farther.
Trevor Matich is our guest here on the program. How do you think the line is at 8.5 right now in favor of Georgia? Do you think that number is fair? Do you think it should be bigger for Georgia? Do you think it should be closer towards Tennessee?
You know what? That's a game that in my picks this week for Las Vegas I am not going to touch. And the reason is I can see Georgia running away with this, but I can see Tennessee winning this game. And what I don't know is how that fantastic Georgia secondary will perform against the tempo. I know they'll perform well physically, but against the tempo, I don't know how they'll perform yet. And so right now, if you're saying Georgia 8, I think that's probably fair, but it wouldn't surprise me if Tennessee were able to somehow win this game. But to do it, they'll need to be able to take advantage of the Georgia secondary in a way that no one's been able to do for years.
Trevor, what are the 4 tonight from the committee, in what order?
The committee will say Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. And I think they'll look at resume to see that. I've got Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio State, Alabama is my top 4.
Michigan doesn't get some love after they crushed Penn State and Ohio State struggled with them?
Well, home and away, that matters. Michigan had them at home. Michigan gets a lot of love. Best offensive line in the country. Defense is playing lights out. The passing game, I'm still not convinced, is good enough to enforce its will if a top-tier defensive front 7 is able to limit their running attack. They haven't really had to, and until I see it, I am just wondering if that component of the Wolverines game is all the way up to championship level.
Trevor Matich is our guest here on the program. Last one for you, Trevor. We made you pick it before the Tennessee-Alabama game. You picked Tennessee, and I think you were surprised with yourself. We're making you pick it now. Tennessee-Georgia on Saturday. Who wins?
Okay, well, if you're making me pick on a Tuesday, I'm saying Georgia wins this game. Tennessee acquits themselves very well, and it may end up being the best thing that happened to the Volunteers from a standpoint of getting to the playoff.
Why would it be the best thing that happens to them when winning on Saturday basically puts them in the playoff?
If they lose a close one on the road, then and win out the rest of the way, which I think they will, then they've got a very good chance of being in the playoff. If they beat Georgia, they'll be the consensus number 1, no question. But they will likely face a furious Alabama team. And if Alabama stomps them into the mud in the SEC championship game, very likely that the committee would take one-loss Georgia, even though Tennessee, played them close. So let's put it this way. The committee will have to debate that. They wouldn't have to debate it necessarily if Georgia beats Alabama in the SEC championship game to give Alabama their second loss. Then Tennessee has the edge over Alabama anyhow.
Trevor Matich, presented by Twin Peaks and Houston Clinic Orthopedics. Great stuff, Trev. We'll talk to you next week to break this game down.
Thanks, Jared.
Yep, Trevor Matich. Game of the year, Tennessee and Georgia. And, I was stunned when Trevor picked Tennessee to beat Alabama. I was not surprised that Trevor picked Georgia.
Why?
Because I mean, Trevor was kind of hinting the whole time that he was going to pick Georgia.
Yeah.
Talking about their defense.
But going into it, did you think that he was going to pick Georgia?
I didn't know.
But once he started talking about Georgia's team, I felt like he was leaning toward Georgia.
I mean, I think he is.
And it was the same thing when he was talking about Tennessee, Alabama. I think the entire time he was talking himself into picking Tennessee.
I know, but I don't know. I can't remember the whole interview of how that went, but I just was like, wow, you're picking Tennessee over Alabama.
He was shocked, too.
Here, I'm like, it's like he tried to say that nice thing at the end about this will be the best loss Tennessee has.
It's true, though. I mean, a loss to either the number 1 or number 2 team in the country is going to be your best loss if you are the number 1 team in the country.
I know, but I still think winning is better for them because I think that even if they get curb stomped by Alabama,
winning is better than anything.
But he's talking about if they get curb stomped by Alabama in the SEC title game,
they'll still get in.
I agree, but he doesn't. 615-737-1025. We'll get your thoughts on that. Trevor is picking the Bulldogs. What do we make of it? Plus, I say it. And everybody's like, oh, Jared, I heard something. We all heard something. Somebody else said it. And UT fans should be scared to death of it. We'll get to that. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You watch The Game.
39, pocket trembling. Down he goes. Hit on the play by Landry.
We talk The Game.
Harold Landry? Boy, you sure should pay him, right?
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Attention sportsmen. This November 8th, hunting is on the ballot. The Biden administration continues to close millions of acres of public land to hunting, and now D.C. liberals are banning common ammunition. Joe Biden and the enablers pulling his strings won't stop until you're only allowed to hunt in your backyard with a slingshot. On November 8th, it's critical for Tennessee sportsmen and women to go hunting with their votes and elect Andy Ogles to Congress. We need a congressman who will stand up to the liberal left and fight for the rights of Tennessee hunters and gun owners. Andy Ogles will be a champion for the rights of Tennessee sportsmen and women. Andy Ogles will protect hunting access, our Second Amendment rights, and our hunting heritage. Vote Andy Ogles for Congress, November 8th. Hunter Action Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. 4800 Westgate Pass Road, Tucson, Arizona, 85745.
In honor of Veterans Day, Twin Peaks is celebrating those who have given the ultimate sacrifice by giving back to Tunnel to Towers. Tunnel to Towers is a foundation which helps America's heroes by providing homes to first responder families. Get to Twin Peaks and donate $5 to Tunnel to Towers through November 30th and receive $5 back to spend on yourself at Twin Peaks this December. Visit your favorite Twin Peaks for more information. Valid at participating locations.
This is a relationship, just like your relationship. Dating and getting married is awesome and fun, but having been married for 24 years, I can tell you it only gets better.
Meet Ward Herbert, manager at Genesis Diamonds, talking about the importance of having a long-term marriage with your spouse and your jeweler.
What's in the DNA here is relationship building. How can we be a part of your love story forever? It's your engagement ring, it's your wedding band, it's your anniversaries, it's gifts for your children, it's being a Genesis customer for life.
Genesis Diamonds, where it's never about making a sale, it's about making a hero.
The greatest joy I get is helping you find your perfect ring, helping you find your perfect diamond, and having you walk out with a huge smile on your face because you know she's going to love it and it's going to be something that you can be proud of forever.
And Ward knows a thing or two about relationships as a marriage counselor and an ordained minister. He can provide a little extra added value.
I did a wedding ceremony for one of our customers 2 months ago. He did not have a minister at the last minute, and I performed his wedding ceremony for him.
Genesis Diamonds, going above and beyond for every customer.
Now you may kiss the bride.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
OrderGreen.com. You know them by now. They're my only choice for high-quality THC and CBD products, and they're delivered right to my doorstep. Hey, folks, Joe Rexroad here. Yes, you heard that right. OrderGreen.com will send cannabis products right to you with discreet same-day shipping. OrderGreen.com has been great for me. Just what I need during this busy time of year. Takes the edge off physically, mentally. Terrific products, and if you use promo code Joe20, you're going to get 20% off your first purchase at OrderGreen.com. Do you have a subscription to OrderGreen.com? It'd be a lot cooler if you did. You won't be able to tell if you're in Colorado or Tennessee. Trust me, that's OrderGreen.com.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game set. Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stone and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the losses of Amanda J. Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Trevor Maddich picks Georgia to win on Saturday and then kind of shoehorned in there that thing to make Tennessee fans feel better about themselves with, this will be the best thing that ever happens to Tennessee because they won't get curb stomped by Alabama in the SEC championship game. And the committee could take Alabama over Tennessee if Alabama smokes Tennessee in the SEC title game. And I'm like, that's what I said to you during the break. If Tennessee has a win over Alabama and Georgia and loses in the SEC title game, they could walk into the committee room and be like, and stick their middle fingers in everybody's face and say, screw you, and screw you. And I still think they're in the playoff.
I would say so. And in that scenario, you would have 3 one-loss SEC teams that all could probably have a case to be in the top 10.
So I do want your reaction on that. 615-737-1025. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Rob has been waiting patiently. He's up next. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Rob.
Jared, in 1985, Joe Montana's 49ers took on Dan Marino's Dolphins. They were both great teams. I couldn't decide who would win. The 49ers won in a rout because the 49ers had a great defense, good running game, and they were more physical on both lines of scrimmage. So this Saturday, the Dogs will be San Francisco and the Vols will be the Dolphins.
So, I mean, I think, Trevor, thank you for your call, Rob. Trevor, the thing that I agree with Trevor is I could see Georgia blowing Tennessee out. But, I mean.
I don't see a blowout scenario either way.
Oh, I do. If the Georgia defense is that good, and they tell us the Georgia defense is that good, if the Georgia defense is that good, then they'll turn the ball over, they'll get in the backfield, and then what happens to throwing teams when they get into that, they just throw it more, which means that it's more short fields, more interceptions, more forcing the ball, more. It's the kind of game that just gets out of hand. It's not that Tennessee's that much better than, or Georgia's that much better than Tennessee. It's just if that defense is as good as Trevor says it is, where, I mean, Trevor does not seem convinced. He said he thinks Tennessee's going to score in the 20s.
Which is pretty shocking.
If Tennessee scores in the 20s,
they lose.
You lose.
And also, everybody wants to discredit Georgia's offense. Joe Rexrow brought up a very good point this morning. Georgia has the second-ranked offense in the country behind Tennessee. So it's not like Georgia is working with some, rinky-dink little offense that just, tries to skate by with a defense like they did in 2021 that actually worked out pretty well for them.
That being said, I could see Tennessee going in there and hanging 45 points.
I could see, I don't see a blowout either way, but I could see Tennessee putting up, 50 points against this defense.
So, when I say something, sometimes people, they just don't want to hear what I have to say. They get mad. He's like, oh, Jared Stillman said, oh. And then somebody else says it, and it's like, oh, did you hear what this person said? So after the Alabama game, I told you all that Josh Heupel was going to be on the table for the National Football League. And I brought up this. Who would you rather have coaching the Chargers? Brandon Staley or Josh Heupel with that offense and Justin Herbert?
Well, if it's Brandon Staley or the field, I'm taking the field. But if it's Brandon Staley versus Josh Heupel, give me Heupel all day.
Okay. And what I tell you, I told you that we all watched the Alabama game. And I said these owners watched the Alabama game too. They saw 52 points. Everybody who likes football watched that game. All of them. All the owners watched it, except, I'm sure there's a couple, like the Bengals owner probably didn't watch it because he's probably some horse farm or whatever in Saratoga. But everybody else watched it. And they're like, oh, God, look at all them points. Tony Romo on the Steelers-Eagles game. That game was a total blowout. And Tony Romo brings up remember we talked about this, when the lead analyst of the sport is telling you something, they're telling you. Because people talk to the lead analyst. Mm-hmm. When Kirk Herbstreit says that, ultimately they're going to pull away from the NCAA, and then 3 weeks later Greg Sankey says they're going to pull away from the NCAA, what's that tell you? He knew. Tony Romo on the Eagles-Steelers broadcast.
We were watching Tennessee upset Bama a couple of weeks back, remember?
Oh, epic scene. And that was jumping a little bit early. Quinn.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense, number 98, unabated the quarterback. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel. Remember, he was at Central Florida with Scott Frost when they went undefeated. Goes over here to Tennessee, brings them back now to prominence. He'll be on the radar for every NFL team after this year. Just throwing that one out there for you.
Okay. Hey, I'm looking at you, and I know you know something. So, okay. Just hold back just a little. 1st and 5. Pickett. He hung in there.
Not saying he's going to go, but I'm just saying they'll be asking if he's wanting to.
Tony Romo, I'm just saying.
Is he just saying?
He's just saying. He'll be getting a look if he wants to. And remember, a couple weeks ago, I said that to Chad Withrow, that I think that Josh Heupel's going to be on the radar of these NFL teams. And Chad laughed me out, said, oh, ha, ha, ha.
Of course
he's a college guy. He's not going to the pros. Tennessee's got more money than the NFL, which I don't think is true. But, you can't tell me that Tennessee has more money than the owner of the Broncos, who just bought the team for $4.5 billion.
But is the owner of the Broncos going to pay Josh Heupel $12 million a year?
I don't know. He's paying Russell Wilson $250 million, and it's probably
stupid.
Let me see if I can get something out of this. Let me get a real coach in here to coach instead of this bozo I got on the sidelines.
But I think Tennessee is going to tell Josh Heupel, here's a blank check, write whatever number you want. And maybe the Broncos or the Chargers could do the same thing. But to Chad's point is, that won't happen. That's because Chad is a Tennessee fan, and he doesn't want his coach to go. And he doesn't want to admit that that's a legitimate possibility.
Tennessee fans should be scared to death that Tony Romo said that.
But I also do think, college coaches make more than coaches in the NFL. That's just the truth.
Do they?
How many coaches in the NFL make $10+ million?
Well, I know Belichick. Belichick makes like $25 million.
Well, yeah, because
now,
that's Belichick.
I don't know, it's not public record, so that's the thing. I don't know how much Pete Carroll makes. I don't know how much Vrabel makes. I got to believe Vrabel's making about $10 million.
I don't know.
On this new contract that he just signed.
But there are a lot of college coaches that make $10+ million. And
Wouldn't
if it's not
they
10
all
plus,
go to college
No, because they don't want to deal with recruiting.
I know, but if you're making $6 million or $5 million in the NFL and you're a great NFL coach and you see Jimbo Fisher, who really hasn't done anything except for that one title that he won at Florida State with Jameis Winston, you see that Jimbo Fisher signing for $75 million guaranteed. And 2 years into it, they want to fire him, but they can't because they've given him so much money.
So much.
Wouldn't you say, okay, I'll go to college?
Unless they don't want to go to college. And I think that's the same argument that Chad was making, was some college coaches just don't want to go to the NFL.
Who?
But it's not my argument. That's what Chad was saying.
Because every time somebody says this, because my Twitter gets flooded with these people that are like, Heupel doesn't want to go to the pros. I'm like, how do you know that?
Well, also, how do you know that they don't? Is it going to come out publicly that, hey, Mel Tucker turned down the Raiders job because he didn't want to leave college? No.
I would put it to you like this. Who's the best coach of the era?
In football?
College football.
Nick Saban.
Okay. He went to the NFL.
Yeah.
Who's second best coach of the era? Urban Meyer.
I guess.
He went to the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay, who was the best coach of the last era? Pete Carroll?
He went to the NFL.
Steve Spurrier?
Yeah.
They all go to the NFL.
It's easy to name the coaches that have gone to the NFL, but we don't know how many coaches have decided to not go to the NFL or aren't interested in the NFL because that's not news.
There's one.
Who?
Lincoln Riley. There was a lot of talk about Lincoln Riley could be an NFL coach.
But also Lincoln Riley's making a boatload of money at USC, and he
Right.
gets to live in LA versus Detroit.
Although if he wanted to live in LA and be the coach of the Chargers, I'm sure he probably
could
be.
do that. Yeah.
But I go back to this, which is Tony Romo just said it right there. He may not want to go, but he'll get his chance. Talking about Heupel.
Mm-hmm.
And every time that this comes up, everybody tells me why it won't work. That offense will not work in the NFL, which I agree with. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the offense will work. All that matters is, will somebody offer him the job? Tony Romo, who clearly has no association with Josh Heupel, because he said in that clip right there that he was at UCF with Scott Frost, which is not true. He replaced Scott Frost. But Romo, who has no affiliation, I looked it up. I was like, were these two ever in the same spot at the same time?
Heupel?
Yes. And Romo. The answer's no.
No.
There's no lines that cross them, right? And yet Romo is saying on a TV broadcast in the NFL, the number one analyst in the NFL is telling us, I'm just telling you they're going to offer him head coaching jobs. He said every team looking for a coach is going to ask Heupel. I don't know if he's going to take it, but every team's going to ask. It's not like he's, Josh Heupel's long-lost buddy, and he's putting it out there to get him a raise at Tennessee. So then the real question is, not will the offense work in the pros? The question is, does Heupel want to go to the pros? And I don't know the answer to that.
Well, why doesn't it matter if the offense won't work in the pros? Doesn't that seem kind of counterproductive to hire a coach with an offensive system that has put up a bunch of points in college that won't work in the NFL?
Because if he still gets hired by the NFL, like regardless of whether or not it'll work, it's all opinion. It's all subjective. It's all, I think it'll work. I don't think it'll work in the pros. Well, I think it'll work. And so it only takes one of these owners that saw 52 points against Alabama to say, I want that coach. It only takes that.
And a lot of owners aren't super smart.
Right. And even if it doesn't work, like if it doesn't work in the NFL, Tennessee still has to go get a new coach.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like the Tennessee fans that are like, Heupel's not going to leave because if he leaves, they'd have to go get a new, if Heupel leaves, that offense won't work. So he'll never leave. It's like, if he does, even if it doesn't work in the pros, you still have to go get a new coach. Just like how Steve Spurrier didn't work in the pros, Chip Kelly didn't work in the pros, Bobby Petrino didn't work in the pros, and all those schools had to go get new coaches. And that's where, if I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm scared to death about the idea of having to get a new coach.
I think that Tennessee fans are. I think that's why Chad is saying he doesn't want to go to the NFL.
Also, who do you think told Tony Romo to hype up, or who do you think told Tony Romo that Josh Heupel was going to get a job?
An owner that wants to hire Josh Heupel.
What owner do you think Tony talks to?
Jera?
Well, he did name his third kid Jones McCoy Romo. So, I mean, think about it like that. Think about Jerry in his palatial estate watching the Tennessee-Alabama game.
I want him.
Knowing that Mike McCarthy is his coach. Boy, I think about Dak in this offense and Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb. I want him.
I want him.
Jerry, that offense won't work. I don't care. 615-737-1025 is your phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get your reaction to that. Plus, I do think Josh Heupel will go to the NFL at some point. I do. I do not think the offense will work. And I will tell you why. Because I talked to Jordan Rodgers, and Jordan Rodgers explains why it's not going to work, and it makes sense to me. We'll get to that in your phones. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
What's up, everyone? It's me, Michelle Knezovic, and I want to know if you can beat Vegas this football season. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Listen, I like the Tennessee Titans plus 305 to win the division. I still think that they have a chance to take the AFC South. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promos bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com. Start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Hutton for the Low T Center. Guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Schedule your complete health assessment at Low T Center. They now offer the convenience of monitored self-injected home testosterone treatments for $155 a month cash pay or covered by most health insurance. If you don't live near a Low T Center or you just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy to get started. Only your first 2 visits are in person. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
National Playmakers Academy with former Vols Buck Fitzgerald and James Stone, along with former Austin Peay Governor Vic Wright, offer one of the best football developmental organizations in the nation. MPA has over 30 NFL alumni, 800-plus college football scholarship signees, and 25 high school football All-Americans. If you have a student athlete in middle school or high school that is looking for the best football training and college football recruiting help around, contact National Playmakers Academy today, 615-456-2680, or email april.mpafootball@gmail.com.
Hey, it's Big Joe on the go. Look, I get it. Nobody likes being in a car accident, but when that happens, make it easy on yourself and call Apple Collision Centers so you don't have to stress. They're locally owned with 3 convenient locations in O'Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Apple Collision Centers managers combined for 60-plus years experience, and they only recommend original equipment parts on your vehicle. So, if you're in need of a repair today or down the road, just head over to Apple Collision Centers. Stan and his team will take great care of you. Online, applecollisioncenters.com.
COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too. If you feel symptoms, even if they're mild, you should test fast. Test positive and at high risk for severe COVID-19? Then act fast with authorized oral treatments that can be taken at home and must be taken within 5 days from when symptoms begin. COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too by asking your healthcare provider if an oral treatment is right for you. Learn about a treatment option at treatcv19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
NFL, I'm surprised every Sunday they don't see more teams using that tempo as an identity or just in spurts because it is so difficult and it tests your conditioning at the NFL level. Conditioning is one of those things you can't really control person to person. So if I was an NFL coach, I would definitely use tempo, but the entire system as an identity doesn't really translate as much as you'd like to think to the NFL.
So that was Jordan Rodgers. Tony Romo says that Josh Heupel will get a crack at an NFL job. I actually was going to talk about this last week before Romo even said anything because I'm convinced Heupel will get a look in the NFL. And now that Romo said it as the, I'm just saying, I mean, it sounds pretty convincing that Romo knows that there's somebody out there that wants to hire him, right?
Yeah, I mean, why would he say it?
Yeah, just
out of
randomly,
nowhere, in the
Romo,
middle of a play.
In the middle of the Eagles-Steelers game.
Yeah.
You know, Romo's like, let me tell you, Jim. And Jim's like, sounds like you know something, Tony. Well, I'm just saying. You know, it's like, oh, he's just saying.
Nobody just says.
Well, so I asked Jordan Rodgers last week about if he thought Heupel's offense could work in the NFL. This really does get, you know, kind of like into football mode guy. But I do think the explanation is fascinating of why it wouldn't work. And let me just say this explanation is good enough for me. This is what Jordan said.
Super complicated question to answer, but the short answer is no. The Josh Heupel system won't work in the NFL, and in order to understand that, you got to understand why it works in college. This system, because of the splits, having 4 wide receivers, 2 on each side of the ball, all outside the numbers, it turns every coverage to man coverage. And in college, you don't want to run man coverage because the hardest position to recruit in college is cornerbacks. There's just not that many that are that good that can play man coverage successfully. So that's why you see a lot of colleges predominantly playing some form of zone coverage. So when the splits are that wide, it turns everything into a form of man coverage because you can't have 2 safeties each helping outside the numbers. You'll have nobody in the box, and Tennessee could run for 1,000,000 yards on you. That's what you see. So it turns everything into a form of what we call man match coverage, and that's what Alabama does predominantly. And why you saw them get torched is because 3 defenders will be over those 2 receivers. And depending on where those receivers release after the snap, how deep they are, what angle they take, all those defenders' responsibilities on who they're playing and what leverage they have changes. So it forces a lot of quick communication, and with the tempo that Tennessee runs, you're going to end up breaking or blowing coverages. That's what makes it successful. So in the NFL, the highest paid guys on defense are cornerbacks and edge rushers. So cornerbacks can play man coverage. Those splits, they'll just man press you, be physical at the line of scrimmage, and let their defensive ends get after the quarterback in one-on-one situations. So the personnel and the talent in the NFL, the ability to play man coverage, press man coverage, and get after the quarterback in one-on-one situations makes it nearly impossible.
So he's basically saying that the players in the NFL are just better, so they'll just man coverage the whole time.
Right.
And that makes sense.
Be able to stop that offense
and
more effectively.
That's why I think Trevor thinks Tennessee's going to score in the 20s on Saturday, is because Georgia has in their secondary. Clearly, Alabama doesn't have, the Minkah Fitzpatricks and those guys that we're used to seeing. Sounds like Georgia does. And that's probably why Trevor thinks that they'll stay within the 20s.
And Trevor says that for years, people haven't been able to take advantage of Georgia's safeties. For years. I didn't know Georgia's secondary for years has been that great.
Oh, it's been good since Kirby got there. There was a game when Butch Jones was the coach, and I remember, Josh Dobbs made a perfect throw, and the DBs were still all over it. I'm like, all these guys are going to go in the first round of the draft, and make of that what you will. Phones, 615-737-1025. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have?
One texter texts in and says, Trevor Maddich must be drunk thinking that a loss to Georgia could be the best thing for Tennessee's team. No way a one-loss Tennessee team misses out of the college football playoff.
Yeah, I don't know what Trevor's talking about with that. I think he was just trying to be nice by picking Georgia on a station in Nashville. What's next?
One texter texts in and says, Heupel would be stupid to go from UT to the NFL. Tennessee is going to write a blank check to him.
Okay, so here's the one question that I really have, which is how much money can Tennessee actually pay Josh Heupel? Because everybody loves to sit there and say, they can pay whatever they want. I was listening to an old Jared and the GM podcast about a year ago. And this was when LSU ended up hiring Ed Orgeron, but they fired Les Miles. They wanted Jimbo Fisher. They courted Tom Herman, and they ended up with Ed Orgeron. And at the time, the GM said that they could hire Jimbo Fisher if they really wanted. They would just have to pay him $100 million. And I was like, well, that's crazy. I'm like, he'll turn it down and get, whatever from Florida State. He's like, okay, well, then they'll just pay him $200 million. And he kept going on. And I was like, okay, and I pushed back on that. Well, obviously that's exactly what happened. Was A&M offered Jimbo Fisher so much money that even Florida State was like, yeah, no, we ain't paying that. And Jimbo went off. And so the question has to be, okay, well, how much money can they pay? Because in theory, I would agree that Tennessee probably can pay whatever. Auburn fires a new coach every 5 minutes and pays that coach $20 million on the way out the door. So clearly Auburn has unlimited funds.
So does Florida.
And yet at the same time, when it comes, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on the radio or not. When it comes to, number crunching time, I could say Nutcracker on the air, right?
Nutcracker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Nutcracker time, it's like, can they really pay Josh Heupel $13 million a year? If the Broncos are determined that he's their guy, Can they really pay more than the Broncos?
I don't know. I would probably.
The Broncos just bought the team for $4.5 billion.
So can they afford a $13 million a year coach?
Yes.
Well, I think Tennessee can probably
That's
afford
like one inside linebacker.
Tennessee can probably afford $15 million a year for a coach. Yes.
Do you think Tennessee would pay $15 million a year for Josh Heupel?
If Josh Heupel was able to get Tennessee to the college football playoff in year 2, yes, I do think that they would pay Josh Heupel $15 million. Now, would it maybe come back to bite them a few years down the road when they find out maybe that was just like a really good team that worked really well with the system and they get totally Jimbo Fishered? Maybe. And they have to, look down the barrel at an $80 million buyout in year 5? Maybe, but I do think that, yes, Tennessee would be willing to offer Josh Heupel whatever he wants.
You don't think there's somebody in that university that's like a CFO or whatever that's like, no, look at our balance sheet and see right here, we cannot afford to pay $80 million to buy out a coach, 3 years from now and then have to get a new coaching staff in here.
You tell me, can Tennessee afford to go through another coaching carousel for the next 20 years?
I don't know.
I don't think so. Then at that point, your reputation and your brand is damaged beyond repair.
So you think that Tennessee would pay Josh Heupel? Like, if
yes.
The number is $15 million.
Yes.
They
you
make him
don't?
the highest paid 15?
Yes, I do.
15?
Yes, I do.
What's next?
Because they'll say maybe Nick Saban doesn't make that much money, but Josh Heupel beat Nick Saban.
There's a lot of truth to that. What's next?
Anthony the Plumber Texan says it's crazy that college coaches make more than the NFL. They have all that money for coaches, but only the big name players get paid, and I think that's crazy.
So, that's going to change, and it already is changing now. But here's what I think's wild. Okay? Going back to the Heupel thing. What college program has the most money? Like, what college program has probably the biggest singular booster behind it that has propped its football program up?
Texas, maybe. Arkansas, maybe. Notre Dame, not like a single alum, but I feel like Notre Dame probably has some pretty deep pockets.
Oh, I think Notre Dame's hurting in the money department.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe A&M
with
all the oil money?
So I would argue Oregon is the school
probably Oregon.
One man legitimately paid for Oregon to become a good football program.
The Nike guy?
Yeah, Phil Knight.
Uh-huh.
He couldn't keep Chip Kelly from going to the NFL.
Sometimes guys just want to go to the NFL. But sometimes maybe you'll just go where the money is. I don't know what Josh Heupel's goals are or expectations are for his career. Maybe he never wanted to go to the NFL, and he is like, look, you can offer me $20 million a year, Denver Broncos. I'm not interested. Or maybe it's, hey, Denver's offering me 15, Tennessee can't go above 10. I'm out. I don't know what his motivations are for his career, but I think that's another element here because you could very much so have two teams, Tennessee and insert NFL team here, that are saying, hey, here's a blank check, whatever you want. And wherever he wants to go is where he'll go.
I also think about, too, without knowing this, Josh Heupel grew up in Oklahoma, right?
He went to Oklahoma. I don't know where he's from.
I think he's from Oklahoma. I could be wrong about that, though. But if he did grow up in Oklahoma, chances are pretty good that he was probably a fan of Jimmy Johnson as a kid because he was in college in the 2000s. Jimmy Johnson was dominating with the Cowboys in the early 90s. So, again, this is a huge, leap I'm making, but just follow me here for a second. He's probably a pretty good chance that he was a big fan of the Dallas Cowboys. Where's he from?
South Dakota.
Really?
Aberdeen, South Dakota.
Chances are pretty good, though, that he was a Dallas Cowboy fan because who else you going to root for in South Dakota? The Vikings?
Maybe.
No, come on now. But,
Josh Heupel and Kirk Cousins.
But if you're Josh Heupel, isn't there a part of you that looks at Jimmy Johnson and is like, I could do that? Where he won at Oklahoma State, he won at Miami, then he went to the NFL, he won in the NFL. It's like, I could do that. And I think that, to me, I think it's the ego thing because I would agree that college can probably pay as much as the NFL. But I think the NFL's just different. The NFL's just better. The NFL's it's the NFL. The Titans had a video of these players they put up on social media a couple weeks ago in which they asked every player in the locker room who's the most famous person they have in their cell phone. And so, they'd go to, these random guys, be like, who's the most famous person you have in your cell phone? And be like, Taylor Lewan. whatever, like these backup linemen.
Yeah.
And then they went up to Tannehill and they were like, who's the most famous person you have on your cell phone? And he was like,
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z. And he was like, can we FaceTime him? Tannehill's like, I don't have Jay-Z's phone number. I wish. And I saw that as Tannehill has Jay-Z's phone number. But Tannehill realized when they were like, FaceTime him.
He was like, I'm not doing that.
How do I get out of this without people like, oh, I don't have Jay-Z's phone number. I wish. Ha, 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 ha. It's like, first of all, Tannehill's the starting quarterback in the NFL who had an agent change. Jay-Z runs an agency. I'm sure Tannehill has Jay-Z's phone number. But it's the NFL is like so big that it's so like the ego of like, you're the best in the NFL. Tannehill is like a middle of the pack quarterback, and he's I got Jay-Z's phone number in my phone. Like, it's just the ego of the NFL. And
I hear you. I don't know what Josh Heupel's motivations are. Maybe his entire life he's wanted to be a college coach.
And he's got to use the NFL as leverage. Regardless of if he doesn't want to go there, he has to pretend that he wants to go there because it's good for him as far as negotiating with Tennessee. But if I was a Tennessee fan, I'd be scared if Tony Romo's saying, hey, he's going to get his crack this year. That would worry me. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. I will tell you what they are saying in Kansas City about the Titans. We'll get to that coming up next here on the program. Edley's Barbecue. I love Edley's Barbecue. Edley's Barbecue is the best. And let me just tell people, you're going to want to hear through the end of this Edley's Barbecue ad because we might be giving some away. Edley's Barbecue. I love Edley's. They are fantastic. In fact, I had Edley's this weekend. I knocked out the wings because they're so juicy, so meaty. I get them with the barbecue sauce. Also, you can get them with the white sauce. Oh, my goodness, they're so great. And if you're going to be tailgating for the big game this weekend, you want to do it with Edley's. Hand off the tailgating prep to Edley's Barbecue. Get your smoked wings in easy 25 and 50-count platters. Easily take smoked pulled pork, brisket, turkey, and scratch-made sides, family style. Edley's is perfect for game day at home or at the stadium. So call your neighborhood Edley's or order online at edleysbbq.com. Edley's has been voted Nashville's best barbecue 4 years in a row. Edley's Barbecue, a winning pick. Pickup, delivery, full-service catering. Again, edleysbbq.com. Okay, if you want to go to the Tennessee-Colorado basketball game, we have given away 2 colleges earlier today that we told you interesting factoids about. You have to remember who they are. You have to call Ian if you know. Do not call Ian if you don't know. But if you know, and you're the first person to call Ian at 615-737-1025, you'll win a pair of tickets to see Tennessee take on Colorado at Bridgestone Arena on Sunday, November 13th. Be there to witness the Volunteers in action as they look to run their all-time record against Colorado to 5-0. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Good luck in remembering the 2 teams that we talked about earlier, these 2 big Tennessee basketball moments when they were number 1. Good luck if you want to go to the game. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game?
Yes.
Tune in to Robbie and Rexroad every weekday Preds game day at 8:45 for Preds Pick to Click. Guess a goal scorer and win.
I'll take Roman Yost.
Matt Bouchane. Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
Preds Pick to Click.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
As a roofer, I'm always on the go, so I need to be able to get things done from anywhere. That's why I partner with Beacon. With the new Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips. Searching, ordering, tracking. It's like having my Beacon rep in my pocket 24/7. I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Go to BECN.com to get started building with Beacon. Beacon, always building.
The final matchup of the Tennessee basketball team's 3-game series with Colorado is coming to Nashville. Don't miss the Tennessee Volunteers versus the Colorado Buffaloes at Bridgestone Arena Sunday, November 13th. Be there to witness your Volunteers in action as they look to run their all-time record against Colorado to 5-0. Sunday, November 13th, Bridgestone Arena. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Presented by Red Cap.
In a world where human interaction seems to be reduced to chats and clicks and emails, where transactions are measured only by speed, where corporate policies overrule common sense, sometimes you just want to go old school. Welcome to Genesis Diamonds, a refreshing experience where personal relationships and authentic interaction are the norm, not the exception. At Genesis, you're here celebrating something awesome in your life, and we want to know all about it. We want to hear your story, listen to your requests, and be a meaningful part of whatever occasion this is. A proposal, an anniversary, a birthday, graduation, push gift, sweet 16. If it's important to you, it's important to us. So we don't care how long it takes. We're not paid on commission, and we're not beholden to some corporate rule book. We just want to help you get what you want to make it into a special memory. So take a break from modern shopping and go old school with us at Genesis. Let's start a real relationship that you can count on for life. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Need cash for the holidays or to pay off credit cards right now? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. This is great. You can keep your low mortgage rate and still get cash out. That's right. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low rate. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will come your way, and it only costs you around $300 a month. Use that money to pay off whatever bills you have, credit cards, consolidate other debt, or start a home improvement project. With Loan Pronto, you can access up to 95% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need the appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Do it now before the holidays. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Middle Tennessee football is back in action at home on Saturday, November 12th. The Blue Raiders will take on Charlotte in our 40th annual Salute to Veterans and Armed Forces football game. Kickoff is set for 2:30 p.m. inside Floyd Stadium. Come early and join in on the festivities honoring our veterans. To purchase tickets or for more information, visit goblueraiders.com/tickets. Middle Tennessee, we are Blue Knighted.
Jonathan Hutton.
You have to put the ball in his hands in that moment.
And Chad Withrow.
My kicker's making no decisions on a football team.
Are in the game. Join them for NFL postgame after every Titans home game. Live from Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on Broadway. They'll break down that day's game and look ahead to the next one. NFL postgame is presented by Two Rivers Ford, Renter's Warehouse, and Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I mean, I think it starts with, obviously, Patrick and his ability to not only throw from in the pocket, but improvise, and, you know, the understanding he has with Kelsey and Hardman, and looks like Juju's starting to be a focal point, Scantling, and, you know, they play three backs that can all catch the ball, and, you know, they put a lot of pressure on you.
You've had good success against them. Has there been a common thread to what you've been able to do?
I mean, we probably have taken care of the football. We've probably gotten some turnovers from them, won the turnover battle. You know, probably not giving up big plays. I think that's the thing that I can remember the last time we played them, is we didn't give up a bunch of X plays, and, you know, we were good in the red zone.
That was Vrabel talking about the Chiefs. Boy, he was peachy about it. So Jason Anderson, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City, he and I used to work together in Louisville. Great guy, straight shooter. You know, he's a Chiefs fan because he grew up in Kansas City, but he's not a Bobo by any stretch of the imagination. So I texted him yesterday, and I was like, what is the fear level in Kansas City of the Chiefs losing this game? And he said, honestly, almost zero.
That doesn't surprise me.
And I was like, you guys must talk about the Titans in this game, like this week, the way that we talk about like the Texans or the Jags. We're like, we really can't even get to them until like maybe Friday.
No.
We didn't talk about the Texans at all.
I think we did one segment on the Texans.
About how we didn't know any player on their team.
Yep, that was the segment.
And it was like trying to name the starters that they had last year. Like that's what people in Kansas City. And I was like, even though the Titans smoked Kansas City last year, and, you know, because I think Tennessee's a bad matchup for Kansas City. I don't think Vrabel wanted to say it when Paul asked about, you know, you've had success against them or whatever. I think it's because the Titan defensive line gets to the quarterback in Kansas City. And when he says they didn't have any X plays, it's because Mahomes didn't have the time to get the ball to Tyreek Hill and those guys because of the Titans defensive line last year that made Mahomes' life freaking miserable. But he's not going to say that. You know, Vrabel's not going to be like, yeah, you know, we feel really good about our defensive line against their offensive line, because then all of a sudden that's all that they're going to talk about, and Vrabel didn't want that. But Jason said that team was broken last year when they played that stretch of Buffalo and Tennessee, and he asked me if Tannehill was playing, and he said this year's Chiefs team is better than last year's Chiefs team. And he just doesn't, those people in Kansas City just don't think, you know, they're not worried at all about the Titans. He said, we'll talk about it because it's the Chiefs, and we spend 98% of the time talking about the Chiefs, unless there's something specific to deviate from. But it's an odd field of this game. The Titans right now are the number 2 seed, but no part of the game feels like it has any postseason implications outside of needing to win to continue to keep pace with Buffalo in case they were to stumble. So he's basically saying, yeah, I mean, that really is how we look at the Texans in those games, and it's like...
But isn't that how we looked at the Giants?
Yeah.
That was also week 1, and we didn't know how good the Giants would ultimately be.
And they still should have won the game.
We did talk about the Giants, like, oh, the Giants. How much can we really talk about them? They suck.
Well, we said the only way the Titans could lose is if they walked into that game thinking that they had already had it won.
And they
then in halftime, they decided they had already won the game. And
they did.
They
kicked their feet up, and they were smoking a cigarette at the half.
But I was thinking about this, right? The idea of, like, I mean, the Titans freaking killed the Chiefs last time. They're 2-1 in their last 3. The Titans knocked them out in the playoffs when they had, you know, that last year of Alex Smith. Now the Chiefs did beat them in the AFC title game, in the game that mattered the most. But really, like, 0. But then I thought, like, even the people here don't really think the Titans can beat the Chiefs. Eddie George on the Eddie George show. Deep down inside, listen to what Eddie said. You think Eddie thinks they can beat the Chiefs?
You know, you can argue and say, well, what happens when they step outside the footprint of the AFC South? Will that translate?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is probably not. I mean, when you're playing against the Philadelphia, when you go up against the Kansas City, when you're playing those teams, the Buffalo Bills that can score, you have to have an offense that can match point for point. And that's kind of where we are with that.
I mean, even Eddie is kind of – so if Eddie George is like, yeah, why would Kansas City fans be worried at all about the Titans?
This does kind of feel like it's shaping up to be a Vrabel special, though, where, you know, Kansas City's not talking about him. Eddie George is saying, the Titans aren't going to win this game.
Let's just, without putting words into Eddie's mouth, let's just call it how it is. Eddie doesn't think
he doesn't think the Titans are going to win this game.
Yeah.
This does kind of feel like whenever the Titans are counted out, whenever the Titans are underdogs on a big stage, the Titans win those games historically. But it's on the road. It's in Arrowhead. It's going to be really difficult. Ryan Tannehill, maybe, don't know. So maybe it's not, but this does kind of feel like the kind of game that Vrabel just salivates over.
I mean, I think that if I thought the Titans had no chance to win, I think that would have come out of my mouth by now.
I don't think they have no chance to win.
Like when they went to Buffalo week 2, I didn't think they had any chance to win that game.
Yeah, I wasn't very confident about that game.
Remember the texters in the text line? They're like, well, but Gabriel Davis is out, Jared. I'm like, yeah, man.
Gabriel Davis. But Stephon Diggs is playing, and that's the difference. I don't think the Titans have no chance. I don't think they have a great chance, but this is not a no chance kind of game for me.
See, I think the Titans have like a pretty good chance to win this game.
Based on what?
I think that I think the Titans are a bad matchup for Kansas City. I think the way the Titans play is the way to beat the Chiefs. Like the Titans hit them square in the jaw every time they play. Now, the AFC Championship game, Mahomes was just so brilliant in that game. But that for the most part, when the Titans go up against the Chiefs, the Titans smack them in the jaw, and I don't think the Chiefs are the kind of team that like taking that. You know, the Titans really, pushed them around last year. And they've done it before, and, you know, even when they didn't have a good team with Mike Mularkey and the Chiefs had a top seed, the Titans went in there and Ryan Suckup hit a 55-yard field goal to win the game and put the Titans in play. Like, the Titans are just tougher than the Chiefs. And that always seems to show up against the Chiefs. Whereas I don't think that's a big advantage against the Bills. Because I think the Bills are tough.
Are tough.
Yeah, but I don't think the Chiefs are tough. Jason is up next here on the program. Thank you for calling. What you got, Jason?
Hey, Jared, you're right on about that. I mean, the Titans are going to punch the Chiefs in the mouth, and that's the way to beat them. But the game doesn't matter at all. It really doesn't. The Titans should show them absolutely nothing. They should play it like almost like a preseason game because it doesn't mean anything. The only thing the Titans need to do is win the division and get a home playoff game and hopefully get hot and healthy at that time.
Oh, Jason, I think that's such a stupid take.
I mean, like, this is still an AFC game.
It's not even that. If you win this game, Kansas City has to come here. Think about that. The 3 best teams in the AFC. I mean, look, the Ravens might be in there. I'm not a huge Raven believer, and the Dolphins aren't going to win that division, so they're not going to be in the top 4. And the Bengals last night, woof. The 3 best teams in the AFC are Buffalo, Kansas City, and Tennessee, in my opinion. And again, it doesn't matter if Miami is really the 3rd best team because, again, they're not going to win their division, so they have no chance to have a higher seed than 5. So it's really Buffalo, Tennessee, Kansas City. And if you want to put the Ravens in there, you can put the Ravens in there. But I think that division, there's going to be, some real pushing and shoving, whereas in this division, the Titans are going to beat everybody and walk right there. If the Titans win on Sunday, they're probably going to get the 2 seed. If the Titans get the 2 seed in the AFC playoffs, that means that no matter what happens, if both the Titans and Kansas City win their wild card matchups, Kansas City has to come to Nashville. And it also means that the AFC Championship game, if the 4th team beats Buffalo, could be played in Nashville. So don't tell me that this game doesn't mean anything. Because if this is some serious stuff here. You win this game, you're 6-2. You got the tiebreaker on the Chiefs, who are now a game behind you. Mm-hmm. This game means some serious stuff. The Chiefs have to play a first-place schedule, too. And they got to play Justin Herbert again. And you get whatever's left of the Colts and the horrendous Jags, and we saw the Texans on Sunday. So don't tell me this game doesn't mean anything. Because this game means a lot as far as the AFC playoffs.
And also, what's the point of, intentionally lose this game so you can
not show them anything to them busting out to them at Arrowhead in a playoff game down the road?
I don't really buy into that.
Play in Nashville. That's what I want. Play in Nashville. Give yourself the best chance to win. Play in Nashville. It doesn't mean it's going to work necessarily. No. Last year they had home field. Didn't matter. But I'd much rather play in Nashville than have to play in Kansas City. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Stillman and Company. 1025-1063 The Game.
Silly Underdog Picks is back. Get your friends and sign up today at thegamenashville.com. Pick the 3 football underdog teams each week you think will win for a chance to win weekly prizes, like a pair of tickets to a sporting event or to a concert in Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com or the Game Nashville app and sign up and play now. Then tune in every Thursday at noon for our expert picks. Silly Underdogs is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Superbook Sports.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Look for another mainly clear night as we head through the overnight hours. Temperatures will drop back to the low 50s. Another day with highs in the low to mid 70s. Plenty of sunshine expected throughout Wednesday afternoon. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Black Friday deals are here earlier than ever at Electronic Express. Come into our convenient locations for great deals on all of your favorite brands like Samsung, GE, Microsoft, Cuisinart, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department: computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Save up to 40% with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Men, are you asking yourself questions like, why am I gaining fat? Why is my energy or sex drive down and maybe haven't been getting the exercise you need? If you want to get back to the man you used to be but just don't have that youthful energy, that edge you once had, you very well might have low testosterone. Low T causes all kinds of issues, from a reduced libido, lower drive, and bad sleep patterns to problems with muscle gain, bone density, and more. It may even contribute to erectile dysfunction, and if this sounds like you, it's probably time to get treated for your low T. At the Tennessee Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've treated thousands of men for low T. We've seen them put on muscle, add to their energy, improve their sex lives, get better sleep, and just feel better. Plus, if you're like most men, you'll see results in only a few weeks. So make an appointment today and experience how testosterone therapy can truly change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. Call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Hose and Belting Specialties in Murfreesboro is your local source for hydraulic, air, water, and chemical hoses, along with conveyor, timing, and metric belt needs. They stock metric fittings for both air and hydraulic applications. Hose and Belting Specialties stocks Parker hydraulic hoses and fittings, Goodyear ContiTech industrial hoses, and V-belts, just to name a few of their lines. For any of your industrial needs, call 615-895-HOSE. 615-895-HOSE.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexroad.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexroad. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app. It's Hockey Night in Smashville.
Deflects back for Duchesne. His shot stopped, and the score!
What are the keys to victory tonight? What's being said in the locker room? Where do the Preds reside in the Central Division standings? Jared Stillman has the latest now. With Preds Game Day on Stillman and Company. This is Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Predators Game Day presented by TJ Anderson Homes, online at tjandersonhomes.com. Again, TJ Anderson, buying or selling, or even thinking about buying or selling. Talk to TJ Anderson, my realtor. TJ has sold 2 homes for me and has done even more for my friends, and I truly have no hesitation referring them to him or his wonderful staff. TJAndersonHomes.com has great tools like what's coming soon, home reports if you're selling your home, and instant notifications sign up to get sent directly to your inbox, which of course I get. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, online, TJAndersonHomes.com. Tonight against the Edmonton Oilers, the Predators get it rocking and rolling from their start of their CMA road trip. Predators come into this one at 3-5-1, good for 7 points. The Edmonton Oilers at 6-3-0, good for 12 points. We start with the coach's take, John Hines, about the fact that honestly, Edmonton's not a very good matchup for the Predators in the past because of the speed from Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, we don't want to get into a run and gun game with them, so our puck management is going to be really important. I think staying out of the penalty box and not making it a special teams game is something that's going to be important for us. So I think if we're good in those 2 areas, it should set ourselves up to give us the best chance to win.
And I would agree. Tonight the Predators start at 8 o'clock, so it's a little bit later start because they're out in Edmonton. The Predators were shut out the other night, and so against the Washington Capitals, so they go 1-1 last week. It's just a lot of up and down and not a lot of offense, and the power play needs to get a little bit better out there as far as the Predators are concerned. And again, the one thing that I'll say, and our final thoughts here on the program are presented by TJ Anderson Homes, but the final thoughts in Preds Game Day, I'm a little torn. Because on one hand, I love watching Connor McDavid play. I think he's the best player in the NHL. I saw his second game in the league. They played here at Bridgestone Arena, and I was just wowed by Connor McDavid. And Leon Draisaitl always has about a hat trick every time he plays the Predators. But I'm also torn because I'm not sure I want to see all that today against the Predators, and it makes me very nervous. The last thing the Predators, who are struggling right now to score and are really struggling to kind of find their way, the last thing they need is Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, on the power play.
Skate all over them.
I mean, the night of the tornado, they came in here and they beat the I want to say that was like something like 7-2, Ian, like when they came in here and just smoked them. I don't even remember the last time the Predators beat the Oilers.
Couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
I mean, the Oilers always choke in the playoffs, but for some reason, they just light the Predators up. So the Predators are going to need to change that tonight if they want to get it done. Of course, the pregame show starts at 7 o'clock. Chase McCabe, Pete Weber will be with Chase at some point during the pregame show. Congratulations to Max, who's on the big boy road trip out west. Max
All right,
Hurst
Max.
is out there, 5-star hotels with the team, everything else. Max will be on the call with Hal Gill tonight at 8 o'clock for the Preds and the Oilers. We are out of here. We'll be back tomorrow at 2. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.